Hey, thanks for clicking on the video. This is going to be another episode of SNTR Gaming News, and we got a lot of information from a live stream that New World did, combing over all sorts of things. Right here at the front of the stream, I'm going to do my best to give you the Cliff's Notes, but then we're going to spend probably the duration of the live stream combing over everything that they talked about, and it was quite a bit. If you like these types of live streams, be sure to hit subscribe and the bell button. That way you don't miss these live streams, and right here is probably what you're looking for if you clicked on the past broadcast. This is an SNTR update. New World took to YouTube and other streaming channels to give a significantly long stream in December about everything they have planned going forward to update the game. They addressed a lot, so this might be a slightly longer update video than usual. If you like these types of vids, be sure to hit subscribe and the bell button, or check out SNTR Gaming, where I stream this live. Now, they broke it down into many different sections, and so I want to say, first and foremost, I'm very pleased that they did this. This was something that I had been sort of wailing on recently, saying, listen, you have got to get out in front of the audience and just do a state of the game stream where you address all the different things. So first and foremost, they addressed server merges. They said, listen, the goal is to improve the player experience. They did indicate that the host server will retain the territory map control. They did not go into details about what this means, though, because they said companies will be compensated if there are changes. They weren't clear on how or why that would happen. Maybe if your company's losing territory because you're going to a map where you're no longer in control of a certain area, maybe they're going to compensate you somehow. But they did indicate that the host server will retain the map. They talked about new content, new characters and stories, and expanding the world and how all that is coming. They did indicate in expanding the world, the experiences, and the stories that they do not have a favorite child. They said PvE and PvP will both continue to receive updates and improvements. They walked through a pretty lengthy discussion about bots, bugs, and bans, the philosophy and the approach they take to some of the bans, how frustrating some of the bugs have been. They understand some of the bots are still in the game, and they are working on that. That was a pretty candid part of the video that I personally appreciated, given all of those pretty frustrating experiences that the community has had. Then they talked about mutators coming to expeditions. These will be augments to AI and elite AI that will change weekly and be presented as a challenge to the player, so it is good to see. They are looking into giving more depth and replayability to expeditions. I don't know if they indicated in the live stream if they're going to reserve this for just sort of the final expeditions in the same way that they've done with the gypsums and the drops. They're not really, rejuvenating the earlier expeditions in the game, and I would like to see that change. I would like to see them brought up to endgame level so all 6 expeditions have replayability, even once you're that far. They walked through balance and tuning, and they did indicate in this section, this balance and tuning section, that there is a February release planned. We're hearing February 11th, so there is a big release, it seems, planned for February. Probably a good idea to do that early in the month, so hopefully the 11th is correct, because February is a very full month. And they also talked about how there were unpopular decisions they had to make with respect to balance and tuning, but they were necessary. It was clear that there were a lot of things that were just well out of line and being too strong, and that's going to affect PvP and obviously frustrate people who spec'd into a build that might have been one of the stronger ones. They said this is an ever-evolving thing, and that early shifts tend to happen whenever you have a game that comes out like this. This isn't really abnormal for there needing to be these early shifts and patches when these things emerge. I thought it was a very good and frank discussion about diversity and power within builds and how they approach balance and tuning. They also spoke on new weapons and how they are working on a great sword that will be pretty fresh and new. They said there'll be stances changes, like you'll change how you stance, your stance, when you're using the greatsword, and they want to change up gameplay with new weapons. So it didn't seem like they just want to keep throwing new weapons into the game. They wanted them to actually be a gameplay changer for anybody who opts to use a new weapon. They also addressed endgame content and progression, sort of walked through and explained why they removed the high watermark system, why they incorporated good feedback from the community about the new system that is called the expertise system, and why they think that is better. And they also walked through what they want for crafters. They want to make sure that the crafters are able to still enjoy what they like about the game and what they enjoy doing. They sort of ended the video talking about quests and lore, talking about how they want to improve the main story quest, and they want to finish out this first chapter of the main story. So indicating we're in sort of the first chapter. That's going to come to an end, and then there'll be sort of a new era in the game. They're working on variety and quantity in some areas. They did acknowledge that some of the quests are very similar. I thought the host did an excellent job asking pretty good questions that a lot of people have been thinking about, and sort of asking, like, why are all the quests very similar? Why are some of them extremely hard to do in certain areas, and they just don't seem like they should? They talked about how they are going to do more than just let you move faster on roads to help with some of the speed here. They're going to be adding more spirit shrines to the map, and they're making them easier to find. You can simply sort of see them on the map, and then you go up to them and a little icon changes. I thought that was a great change. I experienced this the other day. It made it very easy to be like, oh, there's spirit shrines all around here that can help with fast travel. And another thing they're doing to help with fast travel is reducing the cost of Azoth depending on distance traveled. It's always kind of rough when you know you got to go a really long way. That's typically when fast travel is the most convenient. And they charge you more Azoth because of how far you're going. They're going to remove that, so it's just sort of a flat fee. That, combined with more spirit shrines and making them easier to find, I think is a very good change. And they did say that more lore and story is coming to explain the world and sort of what we're doing here and why all these things have transpired. So that was basically the entire stream. That's the Cliff's Notes. We're going to drill down into each section and kind of see what the live audience thought was the most important. So always remember, I do these segments at the beginning of like a 3-hour live stream over on SNTR Gaming, so be sure to head over there. And if you like these SNTR updates, hit subscribe and the bell button, and I'll see you in the next one. And I'll see the rest of you right now. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you for kicking off this should be a really strong day. We got good stuff. We got a Halo stream for the afternoon. They apologized to the community about everything that's been going on and confirmed some good changes. But New World finally did the thing that I said they should do, and I thought they absolutely nailed it. I congratulated the host of just doing a great job. Like, really, that's not an easy thing to do, to jump in front of a live audience and to, ask what I thought were good questions about, like, hey, what are we doing here? The audience is saying this, the community is saying this. How are we going to be fixing these things? I thought he did a very, very good job. So I made sure to congratulate him and the team on Twitter. His name is Greg Henniger, and I just thought, man, they've got a winner there. It's really tough to sit down and host a show like that. And I thought he did a good job. Now, it might have been pre-recorded because they were kind of jumping from scene to scene pretty quickly. I'm not sure if it was live or they just live streamed a pre-recording. It did seem like they were giving them enough time to, like, swap people out because they had, like, these big animations that would pop up on the screen as they switched between the sections. What's good, feed? I see you in the chat. Greg says, the video from them, I watched it. It was great to see, though they clearly do have automated bans and forum bans that aren't justified, but it's pretty good from where it is. They should ban anyone who mass reports with a company, though. Just ban the whole group. Yeah, HDS, I'm hearing very good things. It's way more entertaining than other PvP games. I told people that back when we saw the initial footage, we got to say this for the afternoon, though. We don't want to jump ahead. I said, this could be the resurgence of the arena, and HCS may be proving me right over the weekend. We had a blast on Friday night. If you guys weren't here, we brought back split screen. Me and Hilly were shoutcasting you guys playing, so make sure if you're a member to be in the Discord, make sure you set aside those Friday nights. Not one this week, obviously, because Friday is Christmas Eve. So I appreciate everybody being here this morning. Hopefully you had a great weekend. Relaxing. We put up the rest of our Christmas lights outside. That was pretty fun. We were like, this isn't quite enough. If you start to do Christmas lights outside, but you don't do quite enough, it tends to stand out. You're like, well, We just have like a little Santa and a Mrs. Claus and lights on the gutters, so we've decided to put lights on all of the bushes. Hexplicit says definitely pre-recorded. The tenses used in conversation led me to believe it was recorded sometime in the past 2 weeks. You know, you're right, Hexplicit. I caught that myself. It did seem that they knew they were recording it in advance, because the one person said, like, it's in the game, or maybe it's not right now, I don't know. Like, that you could tell they weren't sure whether or not it was going to be in the game or not. And so I thought that was you're right. I think that's a good indication that it was a pre-recorded event. Yo, what's good, Fozzie? Says Friday was a good time. It really was. No, I've not, Diaz. You already were talking about this morning. You simply cannot do that. I don't, even in the most generic ways, you just cannot do it. Like, we can't. You are tempting fate, sir. Please don't. The Friday stream was awesome. I just picked up a Series S, so hopefully I can jump in on Fridays. Yeah, for the foreseeable future, I don't see why we can't do that. I don't think we'll be doing split screen every Friday night. I think it's a little bit more enjoyable and relaxing for me and Hilly just to kind of, shoutcast. Maybe we'll come up with something else to call that, because we have excuse me. We have other plans and potential things that we might be doing with split screen, and so we don't think that doing that every Friday night's a good idea. It was a great nostalgic comeback, callback, thing, but we think there's other uses for that, and we're considering all angles here, because we have a lot of great content and a lot of great ideas, and Friday nights can still be that, but it doesn't have to be split screen. So don't worry. We're not going to just bring split screen out of the dungeon and then put it right back down again. But we're considering how to appropriately use such a good piece of content. And if you're just tuning in, we were talking about the New World update. If you haven't watched it yet, it's a fairly lengthy stream, and I want to give you guys a poll here. Let me go through. So we have quest lore, new weapons, endgame content, balance and tuning, mutators, bots, bugs, and bans, new content, server mergers. I'm going to try and pick the top 4 here, and I want to see what people are, New World update, stream, what concerns you the most, or what are you most interested in? Not what concerns you. What are you most interested in? I can spell, I promise. Server merges, which again, I didn't feel like we got the greatest information there, but we did. Let's see, balance and tuning was a good one that they talked about, and then we got new weapons, and then we'll put new content. Excuse me. I feel fine. I don't know why I'm getting froggy all of a sudden. Maybe I just need to drink a little bit of coffee. A little bit of Rageous Roast will fix that. Yeah, that's for sure. Thanks for all the Rageous Roast orders last Friday. I couldn't believe it. My wife went to print them off, and she was like, I think there's 19. I was like, what? I was like, okay. So there we go. Let's see what you guys think. The server merges, balance and tuning, new weapons, or new content. I'm pretty sure I know what's going to win this thing. So if you didn't catch the New World update stream that they did, they walked through just a ton of stuff. Well, I don't necessarily think that it's not a live stream. We're referring to it as a live stream, but it wasn't a live stream. So I just want people to be clear. I'm not trying to be misleading. So it was streamed, wasn't it? Or did they premiere it? Hang on a minute. It wasn't a stream. I'm sorry. I've been misspeaking this entire time. It's clearly just an upload, so that's on me. The December New World Team Update is what it's called. They did a December New World Team Update. So they took to YouTube, uploaded an hour-and-a-half long video that I think is just very well done. This is the standard that they should be shooting for, I would say, once a month. Since they're calling it the December New World Team Update, that would be a great way to start. Do one in January, right in the middle. They did this on December the 17th. December 17th, and then, you could do one on January 15th, 18th, somewhere in there. And, do these. Just to sit down. Here's why we did this. Here's what we're working on. Here's why that hasn't happened yet. These sorts of things. I just think these things go a really, really long way, right? if New World DLC is on the horizon, or whatever it's going to be, if it's just going to be a New World update where they go in and just add new stuff, okay, great, but we need to know what's coming. We need to know why it's coming or why it hasn't come yet. Like, these are all important things that streams like this can be a huge, huge asset. Well, maybe not streams, sorry, update videos like this. Victor says, I picked new content. The winter event got me back on. Even went and did some elite chest runs. No luck with drops, but it did increase a few expertise above 500. Well, I thought I fixed my beastly gaming rig that I had been streaming on for months. I went back to the original streaming rig because those guys fixed the water pump in it. And my big, awesome gaming rig that I thought was fine. I thought I had fixed it, or maybe not fixed it. I thought it was that Windows update that was like causing people's computers to restart. I thought maybe that's what it was, because I played Dark Souls 3 in my living room one night for like 2 hours, no problem. Which that's not an easy game for a system to play. It's decently demanding graphically, and I have the settings set to high, I believe. But I'm having New World just restarting the system. Now, I didn't try any other games. Because I got tired of it. So I tried some of the settings I saw on the forum. So like New World PC crashes or whatever the frick, and they're like, well, turn off hyper-threading. And I can get further into the game if in the opening menu, I cap frames at 60. If I slid over to my character, just the character screen where my New World guy is standing there, if I slid over there and I had uncapped frames, it was like, it would crash my whole computer, just restart the computer. I was like, what the frick? So I opened the game, and before even sliding over to my character, I set the frames to 60. That lets me get into the game. And I run around for maybe 30 seconds to a minute, and then the system resets. And I have the hardware monitor open, and I was watching temperatures, and the temperatures on the computer weren't spiking. So I'm like, I don't understand what's going on here. I played Dark Souls 3 recreationally. Oh, this is an age ago. This is when I beat the tree off stream and decided, okay, I know what I'm doing now. And I came back the next day and had I had a harder time with the tree than when I played it off stream, because I had a Dark Souls 3 save on 2 different computers at that point. So I don't understand. I don't know what's going on. I suppose I should try other games that I know are pretty demanding and see, is this a hardware problem? Do I need to take my computer to this shop and have them test the rig? Or is it just something stupid that New World's doing? Like, I don't know, because I saw people reporting this as recently as November, and I was like, I don't know. It could be a compatibility thing. It just doesn't like my video card or something. I don't know. I went in and took uncapped to 60. I can get into New World gameplay for maybe a minute before my computer restarts itself. And I'm like, if it was a heat problem, or if it was the card going bad, or a hard drive or something, you would think that would have been borne out when I had it in the living room and I played Dark Souls for a couple of hours. Like, I don't know. I remember that night I played, I was like, this rig must be fine. What in the world's going on? Sounds like New World if you're not having issues with the other games. I'll test other games tonight just to see, because I got so annoyed I just stopped trying. Yeah, drivers are up to date. I saw somebody say update your BIOS. I updated my BIOS, because there are lots of people that are like, yeah, New World gameplay is crashing my computer. And I was like, okay, what did you guys do to fix it? It was everything from updating their BIOS to turning off hyper-threading to updating video drivers. I don't know. It was so irritating. So I'll have to do more testing tonight. Do you change something with chest luck? What do you mean chest luck? I don't work for New World. We're talking about the New World update. They did a December New World team update. This New World update was basically walking through 4 of the things on the poll. If you guys are interested in New World, what's most important to you? They talked about server merges, balance and tuning, new weapons, new content. Like the New World Greatsword is apparently going to be like, you're going to change your stances and different things with it. It sounds like they're really thinking through ways to improve gameplay with, new weapons, which I think there's always going to be a dilemma anytime they want to add a weapon, because if they want to make it cool and they want to make it appealing and alluring, well, then you run the risk of making it better than everything else, right? Like, well, yeah, I'm not gonna use this anymore. I'm gonna use this now, right? All of a sudden, you're gonna have some OP weapon, on the battlefield. So yeah, New World, new weapons is definitely something that they focused on, but they didn't seem to want to give us too much. And it did seem like it'll probably be one weapon at a time, because when they added the Void Gauntlet, that was like all on its own and attached to an update. And then I'm imagining when they do the Greatsword, it'll be all by itself. It'll just be the Greatsword. We need 7 more likes to hit our first 100 likes, guys. Thanks for a strong turnout this morning. Hopefully you're enjoying yourself. Remember, if you're a new subscriber, hit subscribe, say something in the chat, chime into the discussion. We love to welcome new folks. And we have that poll at the top of the chat. What are you most interested in all the stuff that they talked about? Because it was lengthy. It was lengthy. And I don't know when they decided to do this. They clearly had like a room set up. They had good mics. Everybody had like a little lapel on their shirt. And so they had good mics. So it wasn't like they just threw this together and threw like a microphone on a table and they were like, all right, guys, let's break it down. No, they have like a room with lighting and a table and all this scenery and stuff. If you haven't seen it yet, this is what it looks like. They were just sort of sitting around a table and breaking it down. And this gentleman over here is the host. He was asking different people questions as they sat down. And I thought it was great. Now, obviously, this doesn't fix any of the issues that have been going on, right? This doesn't solve where the game is right now. I still firmly believe this game's got a long way to go. But this to me showed commitment to that end. We're not abandoning this game. They've got plans. They've got long-term ideas about how they're going to handle everything. They didn't even seem to really be... Now, this could obviously be PR, but they didn't seem to be concerned with player base numbers dropping. It was just kind of like not even a thought, right? Not really something that they were concerned about. Middle left looks like the game dev version of Gronk. Yeah, he does a little bit, doesn't he? They got to tune something. You literally cannot be a melee in open world PvP right now. So Baja Blasphemy is saying that you cannot do melee in open world PvP. So if you're trying to do new world PvP gameplay, Baja Blast is saying that melee, you cannot be a melee. So what's reigning supreme right now? The Void Gauntlet. If you're not running Void Gauntlet, you're throwing. So you're agreeing with the sentiment that I said, that if they introduce a new weapon, they have to make it so amazing that it disrupts the meta. You're saying that has happened with the Void Gauntlet. I mean, that's not surprising. The concern that I had when the New World Void Gauntlet came out was that all you were going to see after that was just New World Void Gauntlet guides on every street corner, because healing was already super frustrating for people in PvP. Like, the healers were already a headache, and you just handed a healer like a really good weapon that specs off of the healing stat, right? It specs right off the healing stat, specs off of focus. So it's like, well, healing was already a headache, and you probably just made it worse, So I don't even know if they care about that sort of thing. Does that make sense? Like, I think games like this know that there will always be a shifting meta. It's like the meta is always going to shift. There's always going to be something one week or 1 month that's amazing, and then they'll shift it to something else. Hardcore companies are running 25 to 40 Void Gauntlets in war right now. Corver says, Great Axe and Hammer have definitely fallen off lately. They mentioned that they're looking at balancing weapons pretty closely soon, so I imagine Void will get touched on. But healers complain. I don't know why healers would complain. From where I sit, they got a really juicy update with the Void Gauntlet. It did not feel like a bad thing for them at all. It was like, well, here you go. You are already in a great spot in the game. You can do you can turn the tide of a war. you by yourself, as a group of healers can turn the tide of a war, Only 13,000-ish on East servers. Ouch. Yeah, that didn't seem to be a concern. It just didn't. They were like, no, here's our vision, here's what we're doing, here's where the game is going. It wasn't like, hey, we acknowledge that the numbers are dwindling or whatever. Now, it is funny, they only have 125,000 subscribers on YouTube, so the video has 66,000 views, and then Asmongold reacts to it it's a 2.5 hour long video. Asmongold's video has 274,000 views, so he gets 5 times their viewership. Unsurprising, his channel's huge. So I'm not sure what he thought. I didn't have time to watch his reaction in addition to watching. It is a fairly lengthy video. I walked through it and tried to pull out all the Cliffs Notes for you guys, and I walked through that in a 6-minute video this morning, right at the start of the stream. Like, hey, here's a 30,000 look view at it, Void Gauntlet has the best gap close with the exploit, the best root or debuff, and the only AoE anti-healing, and the best CD cooldown reduction in the game. It's insane. Int is for sure the damage spec. Focus is really only if you're offhanding it. Really? Okay. I watched his React video last night. He was definitely very satisfied with them. Well, that's good. That's good. I mean, he can definitely help, turn the tide a little bit of what the audience and what the public thinks right now, because people probably think, what in the world are y'all doing? Did you abandon the game? Like, are we going to get an update? Like, what's going to happen? And they didn't strongly say it, but it's very clearly that there's going to be a New World February update. Like, a big update is coming in February. And I thought that was encouraging, just to know they're looking that far out. Like, they need to, I still think they need to outline a roadmap, okay? I sort of said 2 things pretty strongly the last couple of weeks. I said your communication needs to improve, right? Your communication channels are not appropriately used. It's hard to find all the information. It's sort of difficult to know what's coming and when. And I thought this December New World Team update video, sorry, not a stream, 1.5 hour long video, I thought, okay, this is a step in the right direction of fixing communication. Now, the other thing I was really stressing lately is that they really need to push out a roadmap, even if it's super generic or slightly vague. January hits and your next update should be, hey guys, officially today on our website and blast it out on our social media channels, we have a New World roadmap. Here is what is coming. We have an update scheduled for February. We would like to do X, Y, and Z in March, if time allows. Like, these are all tentative dates, and these are all hopeful deliverables, right, out after February. So after February, everything is a hopeful. So you'd have, like, all the way to, I would think, a roadmap to get us to the summer. Like, give us a very generic roadmap to get us to the summer. Do you have a regular injection of weapons, updates? Are you expanding the map? Are you adding new expeditions? Are the old expeditions going to be replayable? These are all questions that they may not have answers to right now, and that's okay. I'm not asking for them to, like, whip up a dream scenario here if it's not something that they're working on. But a very, very generic roadmap, I think, would go a long way. Did you hear about the New World YouTuber video game data bank who got a copyright strike from AGS for pointing a bug? Really strange. Okay, so I know the channel you're talking about, Video Game Data Bank. A lot of their videos get a lot of views. They got a strike for a bug. They showed a bug. When's the next SNTR story going up? We decided that the next episode, which is basically me explaining why I'm done, and I hint at the fact that when January hits, that channel's going to look very different. We decided that video will hit this week on Thursday. Kind of serendipitous. It's going to be like right before we sort of take a little bit of a break for the holiday. We may do a stream Christmas Eve morning. I don't know, because it is a Friday and lots of people might still be working and lots of people might still be looking for a stream to hang out in because of, who knows. But obviously the holiday weekend, taking that time off. And I recorded a bunch of videos this week about Facebook Gaming locked up Neymar. We got that video coming. Jake Lucky leaving the esports news desk. We got all sorts of videos about like the streaming world and content creation coming this week. And we decided that last video, Creature just had to put in like a little disclaimer because of one section I was slightly unclear. So he put that disclaimer in. We didn't have to edit anything out. So there's a little disclaimer in the video. And that's going to be the end of it. That's going to be the end of the SNTR story. That channel's probably going to look pretty different come January. And even the information that I'm receiving privately from former Bungie employees, we will not be putting that out on our platforms. And that's pretty much all I'm going to say about that. We have other intentions and other ideas about what we want to do with content, and I can't let this continue to disrupt that content flow, even though it's pretty important, pretty big, and could bring about some pretty good results. I don't want to disrupt my content flow and my ideas for next year, and we were worried that that's what this was going to do. It was going to put everything on hold, because I don't know how long it's going to take to amass everything and collect everything. So that is some housekeeping for those of you that were wondering, like, what in the world happened. We recorded it, we liked it, then Creature was a little touchy on this one spot, and we were like, okay, let's hold off for a minute. Then I had former employees reaching out, being like, what you're reading in the IGN article is not accurate. That's not really how any of this went down. There's a lot of us that aren't happy with IGN's coverage. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll start receiving that, and you can treat me as press. I'll protect your identity or whatever. And then we decided that this is going to be too long. This is going to take forever, and we don't want to put all of our content plans on hold. So how long is the last part going to be? It's not very long. It's like one of the shorter ones. A lot of them ended up being like 30 to 45 minutes. This one's only like 20. So it's a good video. I feel I'm proud of it, and I think it's raw, it's honest, and it's I think it might shake some things out of the trees. I don't know. I was watching a video this morning. I've been going through some of Jordan Peterson's stuff, and he was like, something he's learned as a clinical psychologist is that nobody ever gets away with anything ever. Ever. He says, eventually reality snaps back. So I took some solace in that. So the channel that got that copyright strike, was it a bug, or were they potentially showing the promotion of an exploit? That's a real gray area for me. Like, if you find a New World exploit and you make a video about how to do it, I honestly think game companies have a right to come in and be like, no, we don't want that video out there, right? Every company takes a different approach here. I'm not saying there's a right or a wrong approach, but I do like the idea of a game company reserving the right to be like, Now, can they do it in a way that's not damaging to the YouTuber? Because if a YouTuber's just like, holy moly, we're trying to get the word out that this stupid thing is in the game, and they're doing it in a way of delivering the news, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Now, there's a difference between delivering the news. I have always told you there's this exploit in the game. I won't tell you how to do it, but it's become known. It's on the forums, like gold duping or whatever the frick people are doing. I've always just said, it's in the game. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. That's always how I've handled it, because I'm treating it like gaming news, right? It wasn't an exploit. It was a bug. He lost 40K gold because of it, and he was warning other people. The video was a bug. It showed that if you didn't get cooking XP for more than a fixed amount of crafts, the guy toes the line on promoting exploits every time they have good info, but that's presented poorly. Can't wield DMCA as a weapon against exploits. It's not what it's meant for. Well, but copyright protection falls under that. I actually think that. If you know me, I think a lot of these companies really overstep, but I think copyright protection does pertain to exploits. Like, if you're going to make a video guide on how to exploit a game and break it and mess stuff up and ruin other people's experiences, I believe that company has a right to protect their intellectual property and shut that video down. Now, that's not what we're even talking about, so let's be clear here. This video was a bug that could hurt your experience as a player, and he was warning people, hey, don't do this. This is how you can lose gold. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all, right? if I'm playing your game and I fall through the map and lose all of my loot because I land on the ground, die, and all my loot falls on the ground and I can't get to it, and I make a video and I say, hey, on the road between this town and this town, if you jump off this rock, you're going to fall through the map and lose all your loot. There's nothing wrong with me making that video, right? There's nothing wrong with me making that video. So it sounds like they need to reconcile with the guy because they misfired here. There's a difference between making a video that says, look out for this, this could harm your experience. That's not the same as saying, hey guys, got another New World exploit guide for you. Here's how you're going to dupe gold. Like, no, that's not the same at all. Like, a guide on how to do something wrong, essentially. I mean, we're not talking ethics or morality here. We're just saying it's wrong according to TOS, their terms of service, okay? You're breaking the confines of the game, and it's an exploit. And giving people a guide on how to do that, companies have the right to say, YouTube, take the video down. They have every right to do this. Now, this happened, the first time this really made big headlines was when there were aimbots for Fortnite, and there were all these videos circulating about how to do it, and they all got taken down. And there was a kid, 14 or 15-year-old kid, and Epic had to take him to court because he wouldn't take the video down. They made requests for him to take the video down, and because he declined to honor those requests, they had only one choice. They had to go the legal route. They said, listen, there's no other way for us to get him to take the video down. I don't know why YouTube couldn't step in and do something. I also don't know why YouTube would do something in this scenario, right? Let's say it's a misfire, and they thought this guy just made a video about how to do an exploit, right? Somebody somewhere misfired. Well, number one, that's a heck of a misfire. Number two, why is that even possible? It's clear to me, at least a couple of years ago, Epic didn't have a way to get that kid's aimbot video taken down. They didn't have a way to get it taken down. They had to take him to court. Right? The IGN article was paid for. Hushcrap was paid for also. Don't get everyone off the IGN article timed with the 30th anniversary release. I gotta do what's best for me, Red Rocket. I gotta do what's best for me. Just trust and know that truth and justice win, even if it doesn't win when we want it to. So, it's not over. Let me be explicitly clear about that. It ain't over. Not by a frickin' long shot. Not after the information I've received. We're just getting started, but I'm not going to disrupt my content with it anymore. It's not healthy for me, my channels. It's not healthy for the audience. So, but that doesn't mean I'm done. Make no mistake. Make no mistake. I am not done. What's a high-level overview of the series of videos on the other channel? Which channel are you talking about, Hexplicit? The video game database channel? Like, no, I don't know. It's all kind of stuff. It's all kind of stuff. It's just a whole host of. He just covers all kinds of video games. It's not like a New World channel. Now he does lots of New World content, but he doesn't have like a. I don't think he has a general shtick on that channel. They seem to try to cover everything, right? Corver says, if it's a bug, then it's all good. If it's an exploit, that's completely different. Yeah, 100%. So they need to rectify this, right? Oh, your other channel, you keep referencing a series of videos. Oh, I'm sorry. So we have a channel with like 47,000 subscribers, and it's called SNTR Presents. And it largely right now is going to be receiving very short, like 8-minute videos about the streaming world and content creation and things and the goings on in that ethos. So, and we'll probably launch another series. I don't know what that series will be. So, and the series that I'm talking about is the Say No to Rage story. Basically the story of like what happened to me as a content creator in the 5 years that led up to 2020, where, you know, I was canceled. And like all good television shows, I got picked up by another network and I'm outperforming the people that tried to take me down. But we're ending that story this week. We are ending that story this week. That story hits every Thursday. We will probably continue that theme that every Thursday will be like a series, and then the rest of the week will just be like short little uploads about things like Jake Lucky leaving Esports Desk is today. I covered YouTube losing all those Disney channels, and then between the time that I recorded it and today, they've reached an agreement, and all those channels are now back. They're all back. So that video is irrelevant. That fast. Facebook Gaming picked up Neymar, so I cover that. TikTok's getting into streaming. I cover that. And we hope that it goes where we want it to go. We were going to get into more personal stuff. We've decided to hold off on that. There still may end up being a channel someday where I go through my journey of faith and my beliefs and get into more personal level stuff. But the time for that is not now. But it could be out there in the future someday. Isn't New World doing something with the Wheel of Time? Yeah, I saw that. Somebody put that article in the Discord, and I decided not to cover it because of because of this. Like this story, I felt like was bigger. The New World team update video that they did. So if you're not aware, if you're just tuning in or you haven't been here before, there was a New World update in the way of a team update. And this is what it looked like. Hang on 1 second here. Let me switch the view. I want you guys to be able to see the video. Okay, hang on. And boom. Yo, Big O with 4 months of membership. Good morning, folks. How's the fam? Fam is good, man. Thank you for asking. So this is what it looks like. This was on YouTube. It's on their channel. The December New World team update. So this guy here, Greg, real sharp guy. He did a great job. He did a great job with the videos. Greg Henniger, community host. He did a wonderful job. He also is doing stuff with Lost Ark. So glad to have him on the team. I think he did great. And it's an hour and a half, and they got it broken into chapters. So this is just their intro. He says, hi. He says, this guy next to me's got great hair. And then New World. So they talk about like where they want to go with the content in the game. Then they talk about bugs, bots, and bans. That's a pretty long section. Then they talk about the winter convergence, mutators that are coming to expeditions, balance and tuning, new weapons, late game progression, quests and lore, and then they end with final thoughts. So they did a wonderful job. If you want to watch that, it's just really good. It's what I've been saying they needed to do. They're calling it the December New World Team Update, so I'm hoping that means that we'll get a January New World Team Update, because State of the Game videos like this, I think, go a long way. Even if things aren't great and they need to fix a lot of stuff, this is a good start of what I said needed to happen. Your communication needs to be better. And I said a State of the Game stream is needed, and I thought this was exactly that. Even though the game has still got issues and a dwindling player base and server merges are desperately needed, this was at least a step in the direction that we wanted to see. Random question: when you have thoughts, do you see pictures or do you have inner monologue that talks to you? I have both. I can picture right now the Grand Canyon and the time that I was there, and I can hear in my mind the guy next to me. We were joking about, like, it looked like these people were going to fall. They weren't going to fall. We weren't being, like, morbid about, like, an actual, potential tragedy. We were joking, like, oh, no, they're going to fall or whatever. And he was, like, recording with his camera. He couldn't keep a straight face because I was saying all this stupid stuff while he was recording. So I can hear that. I can hear his voice, right? I can hear all those moments, and I can see it in my mind. I can actually see it. I remember that it looked fake. The depth was weird. It was like, oh my gosh, it's so far. It looked like a painting. It looked weird to me. I still remember that. So yeah, I can go to moments in time and I can see it and I can hear it at the same time. You're a divergent? What does that mean? What, is that not normal? I need to go back and rewatch the balance and tuning because this game needs so much work. Yeah, the balance and tuning starts at 52 minutes and it goes all the way to an hour and 3. So it's a 10-minute little boom, little nugget there if you're looking for that. I will say, says Corver, after watching the entire update video and hearing the feedback from Asmongold last night, I do have high hopes that they're doing what they need to do to go forward just slowly. It's a movie? Oh, the movie Divergent or whatever? We're just now asking the question if Lono is normal. I don't know if I've ever gotten any indication that I am normal. I don't know. Apparently, the gift of speaking extemporaneously, is that the word? Extemporaneously? Apparently, what I do is like super like not common. Just being able to sit and talk like and do it well. I didn't realize that. I thought it was just normal. You could just sit down. Can't you just sit down and talk? That's a normal day for me. Now, obviously, I've been doing it for 7 years, so I've gotten better at it. But it never seems weird to me. People are like, oh, streaming is so weird. How do you do it? Or, wow, that is such an odd thing. How do you do it? I'm like, I don't know. I just sit down and do it. Can't you do that? You can't just sit down and talk about something? If I asked you a question right now and we were at a diner and I said, all right, tell me about, why you like donuts so much more than pancakes. You couldn't just go? Would you have to gather your thoughts? Like, I don't know. I was listening to a speech that Peterson was making, and he said that. He said that that's a rare gift and like a rare thing. And I was like, no, it's not. That's normal. People can just sit down and do that. Well, at least I think you can, because that's how I view the world. That's how I've experienced the world, right? Instead of adjusting drops and node respawns, they are just time gating all of the endgame content. They have the audacity to increase the cap on trade gathering skills. Yeah, the worry anytime a developer, so I'm not even speaking about New World in general, let's just speak philosophically. Anytime a developer wants to get an end result, and they get that end result by limiting or time gating or restricting the player, I think that's an incredibly bad idea, right? Incredibly bad idea. You've never heard of introverts? I'm not talking about introvert-extrovert, J-Stock. Even in a one-on-one, an introvert can speak one-on-one, right? You can speak with another person. Like I said, if I'm sitting across from you at a diner, and I ask you, tell me about, when you were 7 years old and you broke your arm. You can't just go? Would it be, like, you see what I'm saying? I don't even know, what's extemporaneously mean? Like, maybe that's what he meant. Maybe it's extemporaneously means composed, performed, or uttered on the spur of the moment. Impromptu. Oh, that's what he means. So the ability to speak extemporaneously and do it well. Just spur of the moment. Boom. On the fly. Like improv. Sort of a... But improv combined with intelligence, or not even just intelligence, the gift of speaking well. I honestly just didn't think that what I do was abnormal. I was like, I just can sit down and talk about stuff. People are like, well, what do you think about this incredibly complex thing? And I was doing it on the way with my wife, and I were driving somewhere yesterday, and I was just breaking down something very quickly, and I was just like, that's just like a normal thing. That's what you can do, right? Like, that's how everybody's brains work. It's just differences of personality, like introvert, extrovert, meaning you might be less outgoing, but you could still do that. You could still speak on a given subject just off the cuff, but apparently that's not the case. I can talk endlessly, but I need another person to talk to because I need the social cues to move the convo forward. It's extremely abnormal. I'm a notoriously bad storyteller. Huh. For the record, I love this game and will continue to play daily, but it's so busted right now. Yeah, as I said, if you're just going to take the philosophical approach of saying, well, we want to slow people down, or we don't want people doing this, or we want to make sure that users don't feel the need to, camp a node or whatever, and then you restrict or limit what the player can do to get that result, I've never agreed with that. Fundamentally, I think that is a flaw in game design if that's what you do. I really do. I think it's a flaw. Some of these homies are shy and socially awkward, can't handle a person like speech the same way you do. You're literally talking to a computer screen and keeping us entertained. I just never thought I was abnormal. I don't think of myself as like I'm abnormal or I'm gifted or anything like that. I just feel like I just sit down and have conversation. I don't know. It doesn't seem like I'm doing something extraordinarily difficult, right? When you watch someone do a pole vault at the Olympics, it's like, that is extraordinarily difficult, and it took years for them to practice. And I actually learned recently that there was a guy, he like broke his arm, and he completely changed pole vaulting because he was an engineer and he applied physics, and he popped his back to like arc it, which would let him go slightly higher and not touch the bar, and basically completely changed the art and the execution of pole vaulting for forever. It's called the something flop is what it's called. It's like his last name, the something flop. I'm not honoring the man by forgetting his name. That's for sure. That's for sure. It's normal for you because it's natural. Like Tom Brady can just throw a ball because that's what he does, but the rest of us. But Tom Brady can't just throw a ball. He worked on that, did he not? I mean, I guess there's a natural innate ability, and then that lended itself to playing football in the backyard, which lended itself to playing in high school and college, and then he excelled. I guess there is natural innate ability. I think sometimes these guys, the way their arms are built, the length of their arm, length of legs, length of torso, rotator cuff, all of that probably goes into their ability to efficiently throw a football. But sure, the Fosby flop. That's right. No, I'm sorry. It's the high jump, not pole vaulting. I jacked it all up. It's the high jump, not pole vaulting. I completely messed that up. The Fosby flop completely changed high jumping. It's so easy to get things wrong. You know what I mean? I read that. I was like, that's so interesting. So crazy. Let's say your ability to articulate and entertain is above average, and most people are average or less than average at it. I think the fact that it feels like a conversation to you is the gifted part. I tried talking on stream and I found it wildly uncomfortable, and I'm super extroverted. Interesting. Fosbury flop. Yeah, it was for the high jump. Yeah, thank you for that correction. Don't come here for sports history. I'll mess it up. Talking to a silent room is not for everyone, but holding intelligent conversations unscripted and on the fly should be the norm, unless a person just doesn't enjoy social interaction. I don't know. Don't discount that you've honed this craft well. There's something you were probably born with, but you have to exercise it and work at it. That's certainly true. If I go back and watch my old content now, I'm like, my gosh, why am I talking so slow? Why am I not using lots of voice inflection? Why am I allowing so much radio silence? I'm like, speak, man, speak. I don't like watching my old content. I don't. So you're probably right. It would be like Brady watching, footage of him playing in college or high school. He would be embarrassed by the improper form or the mistakes or the slowness or the lack of awareness. He'd be like, "Oh my gosh, I was so bad back then," right? Everyone thought I was so good, and yet I wasn't. I can see that. I can see that. Why am I not using Touch of Malice? Michael Phelps was only able to do what he did because of his physical gifts. Right, there was innate gifting first, and then he hones it. He didn't just jump in a pool one day and swim that fast. But it was certainly like, if you try to swim fast, you're going to be real good at it, right? Like, why are Kenyans so innately fast, right? There's a genetic makeup there and a propensity to, like, length of legs and stuff that they've studied. That, like, yeah, that's why these guys are always ridiculously fast. Like, they're not Olympians, but they can become them if they want. Like, if they really apply themselves, they have an innate natural build for it. They're just ridiculously fast. And Phelps was similar in how long he was, or was it his torso length or something that made him so good at swimming? We've been trained for thousands of years and need feedback in the form of facial reactions to hold conversations, and what you're doing is very much not that. Right, it is very different. It is. Well, if you guys are tuning in for the New World update, the December New World team update, that video is on their channel. It went up on December the 17th, and they covered a whole host of things. And I was actually asking up at the top of the chat, if you want to take our poll, what were you sort of most interested in of all of the things that they covered? New content is winning, unsurprising. Everybody wants new content. That's sort of the thing. I've been saying that a New World roadmap would go a really long way. If they're going to do another one of these in January, it's likely, since they named this video December New World Team Update. So we will likely then see a January New World Team Update, and I applaud that. I think this is exactly in the direction that we wanted to see things go. The idea of, listen, we need to get more from you. We need, just basic state of the game, and we got it. And it's not surprising that new content's winning, followed by server merges. I do think server merges need to be more explicitly outlined and in forefront, just because it is such a giant question mark for so many people when and how this will happen. If you're enjoying this stream, Monday through Friday, I do this kind of content on YouTube. It's basically a talk show. A lot of people treat me like video game radio because I am safe for work. People throw me on in the background and just kind of slam out their workday listening to me cover New World. I have a stream this afternoon about Halo 343, apologizing to the community and making good changes going forward. We covered Lost Ark when it came out, and we will cover it when it officially comes out. From Software, From Fridays, we covered some Elden Ring stuff this last week. It was a stellar Friday. Holy moly, was Friday amazing. Just mind-blowingly big. Just did not expect that. And obviously lots of New World coverage. Lots of New World coverage. Lawrence says, my server is merging today. Now, Lawrence, are you getting to be a host, or are you going to another server? Because this is what I'm very interested about, Lawrence, and you could help us with this, because you'd be one of the first people to maybe outline what in the world they're doing. Because they said the host server will retain its territory map. So the New World map, they'll retain their territories, and you'll be going over there basically to their playground. Now, the gentleman on the stream said, I believe it was the good-looking guy in the Flynn's Arcade shirt, right? You can see him here. He's above me. I'm fairly certain that gentleman said that there would be compensation for companies if things have to change. He didn't go into any more detail. It was like super offhand remark. He didn't really go into any details about what that was going to look like. Okay, so you're going to, so you're not hosting. If you're in a company, I want to know what they're going to do for you. Because if right now your company owns 4 territories, and you go over to a server and your company doesn't own any territories, and then that's your company, right? Then if your faction owns less territories, that's also going to have an impact on your experience. What are they doing to fix that? I don't even know if the New World update that this guy was talking about, I don't even know if it's in the game. He just indicated, like, yeah, New World server merges are coming, and companies will be compensated if things have to change. And then he just kind of kept on going. I was like, well, what in the world does that mean? Can we get a frequently asked questions, like, page on mergers so that people know what to expect? Those companies have presumably spent a bunch of time and resources upgrading areas. Yes, they have. They should be given the funds on whatever they need to be able to wage war. He said that server merges often throw the entire server into war. He says it's actually pretty exciting. And I was like, well, maybe for you. All of this is already answered? Okay, where is that on their site? That was released over a week ago. All right, can somebody find that for me? It's so hard. Is it in the dev blog area, like the forums? Because I'm telling you, that's exactly what I've been talking about. I didn't know that. I brought all this up last week, and not a single person told me what you just told me. Do you know? Like, where is it? Where's the information? It's on the forums. Okay, yeah, that's why I didn't see it. I don't go to their forums and spend time doing homework and research. I don't have time for that. I had people giving me grief in my comment section. They're like, "You're literally a YouTuber and you cover the game and you don't have time for that." No, I mean this. You might not know this, but this is not the only thing I play and cover. I also have 2 children and a wife and other things that I like to do with my time. Not comb over the forums for every nugget of information that they might have dropped there. This should have been tweet blasted out. It should have been a news briefing of, hey, we understand that New World server merges are desperately needed. Here's what you can expect. It shouldn't be like hidden, shoved down somewhere in the forums. I really don't think They've got to change that. This video that they did, this update that they did is great. It's a wonderful step in the right direction. But you got to stop using the frickin' forums. That's a second notice. You can find all the info under that. All right, thank you, Nazir. Let me see if I can pull up this and start to give information to you. All right, notice server merge. Okay, please see the frequently asked questions for more information. World merge FAQ. All right, here we go. That was in the forums, and it was a hyperlink in like one of the things. Can we get 200 likes on the video? I bet you we could. Smash that like button. It's totally free to support this channel with a subscription and a like, and we greatly appreciate it. Those of you that do that. Let's get this nice and big on the screen here. My camera's in like such a good spot. Why do we merge worlds? We don't really care about that. How do we determine if a world needs to be merged? I don't care about that. What happens when we merge worlds? Okay, here we go. Players on these worlds are not expected to lose any progress, including gold, items, faction, companies, etc. However, territories should still belong to the companies on the world absorbing the merge. For example, if World X was confirmed of needing a merge and World Y was identified as the counterpart, players on World Y would not be impacted other than an influx of players. World Y territory ownership will persist after the merge. World X characters will be relocated to World Y. Their characters, companies, housing, gold, and owned items should remain intact, but territory ownership and contracts will not persist, okay? How will we know when to expect? I don't care. What happens if it doesn't work properly? I don't care about any of that. That doesn't answer any of my questions. This doesn't answer any of my questions. All it does, okay, cool. We presumed that the territories would do one of two things. They would either be retained or they would do like a hybrid. Right? This is not that informative. It doesn't say what's going to happen if your company loses all that territory. All that blood and treasure that was spent to win a territory. He said on the broadcast that companies would be compensated if things have to change. What do you mean by that? Where is that contingency plan? Are you going to calculate territory loss and come out with some sort of a number that they're compensated? Your company held 3 territories. You are losing those territories. 50,000 in compensation? Is that contained in this frequently asked question? Where did you get that information? Because it certainly isn't in the world merge frequently asked questions. 50,000 gold per settlement lost. My gosh, where did you guys get this info? It's because it's not here. It's not in this document. This is it. And then we scroll down and we're in German. We'll have in fiscal like this is the same information in another language. Asman said it last night. I'm not sure where he got. Well, for frick's sake. 50K per company ownership. It's 50K per. I wish I could point you to the info. Chimney. Dadgum Christmas. This is exactly what I've been talking about. Jay White says, it's on the forums. It's somewhere on the forums, Lono. It's somewhere on the forums. You know, just go and find it, Lono. It's there. It's certainly there. Maybe in one place. I'm scrolling through the original one. No, I was scrolling through the original forum piece that linked to the frequently asked questions to the FAQ. It's not, no, nothing here, man. Gee, money. So somebody's saying not per territory. Somebody's saying per company ownership, not per territory. Apparently everyone knows, but no one knows where from. That's not good information, because what if we're wrong? What if one person started that rumor and then everybody's going to be expecting 50K per territory that your company owned, right? If you're purple and there's 4 owned territories, but your company only owns one of those territories, I'm assuming you're going to only be compensated for the one that you own. But if you own like 3 of the 4, then you're looking at 150 grand. At this point, it's just hearsay. Yeah, let's go write a twit longer. I mean, come on. This is not how I report. I won't report something unless I can actually vet it. Obviously, I'm reading chat, so it's not like an official report from me. 50K isn't much for the potential you could make from a territory. 50K basically covers the war and the purchase of the territory only, nowhere near the same as good or still having that territory. Well, from what people are saying, they're giving you the 50K so that you can declare war in the new server. So all of a sudden, if you are the host and all these people are coming into your server, you better buckle the frick up because it's going to be war everywhere. It was confirmed by the devs in one of the posts. This is precisely what I am talking about. There needs to be an official blog or news announcement. New World server mergers. Everything you need to know. And pull from all these sources so that no one's in the dark. This game came out September the 28th, so you got October, November. We're 8 days away from the third full month, all right? That's... What is that? That's a quarter of the year, isn't it? It's too early in the morning for math. And we're still not concretely clear on merges and why they've been so slow going. Almost like they don't have a CM. They do and they don't. Well, who's the guy that I've been interacting with? The guy that hosted this is really nice, by the way. I've interacted with him before. His name is Greg. He is creator relations lead. Yeah, so he's not a CM. He's not a CM. He is a creator relations lead, and he's great, and he did a great job. But yeah, it's like they need a CM, not because the CM would be able to make these blog posts, right? Who wants to unfairly lose territory and be forced to fight for it again when they didn't lose, and given pittance to do so? Well, what's your suggestion, Distorted? What should they do? You have a problem, all right? You're in charge, Distorted. I just put you in charge. And I come to you and say, listen, we knew this was going to happen. Server merges are needed desperately. How are we going to do it? Right? How? This server over here is totally fine. This server right here can absorb 2 servers right now, and it can be totally fine, and all the people on these dying servers can be in a healthy server and have a good experience, right? Is the server that's doing just fine and absorbing, does it deserve to have anything happen to it? No, it doesn't. Nothing should happen to it. It should be left alone. It didn't do anything wrong. Nobody really did anything wrong, but certainly a healthy server, if anything, deserves to retain its territory because it's alive and well. Cancel the game, that's my decision. Oh, you son of a gun. So, yeah, okay, you're doing that thing. You're doing that thing where you're like, this is terrible. Okay, come up with a better solution. You're like, nah, I don't have one. Well, I wouldn't have done it that way. How would you have done it? I wouldn't have done it to begin with. Honestly, I think merge and reset every territory, but there's no fair way. That's exactly the point that I was driving at, and you got there without me even saying it. If the server that's totally healthy gets reset, how is that fair to them? They are humming along, they're having a good old time, and all those companies have spent tons of time taking these territories over, and you're like, yeah, well, unfortunately, these guys over here, their servers aren't in such a great spot. So what we're going to do is we're going to reset your entire server and bring them over. And they'd be like, what? Why? We didn't do anything. We're basically being punished because our server is healthy? What in the world? This is not good. My idea was good, Mr. Streamer. Where did you put it, Dan Zatasik? Did you put it somewhere? Since your format is like a talk show, you have ever thought of bringing people from the gaming industry to interview? Well, sure, but then I got to schedule it, and then I gotta do a mic check with them. I'd always be open to that. Sure. I love talking to people from the industry and interviewing them. I did it officially for E3 main stage in 2019. The problem was that with death servers, there would be, let's say, 20 players who took the whole map and get 550,000. Yeah, but okay, think about this though, Nasir. They get all that money, okay? And they come over to your server. They can't declare war. They don't have anybody. Do you see? It's fine. Let's say you do that. You and your 20 friends are just faithfully on some server. It's a ghost town. And you take over every dadgum territory. And you get like $500,000. You get $500,000. Boom. Dropped in your lap. You're not going to be able to go declare war. It's you and 20 people. Now, you could start recruiting and saying, listen, we got $500,000 right now. You know, you want to join us? We're ready to beat the snot out of people, but we need a brute squad. You out of brute squad. You know what I'm saying? So they're not going to be able to descend on your server and do anything with the $500,000 that they got because there's 10 of them. I would reimburse territory costs as creature, reimburse most recent war cost, pull everyone from every server, have a 24-hour maintenance, and then turn everybody loose to join your servers that are already merged. Oh, like give people the choice. That'd be really tough on companies that purely have organized on the internet. They'd have to have some other way of communicating with each other. You see what I'm saying? Who's Jake Lucky? One of the better hosts of esports news. Is it esports news or we always want to say esports desk, but it's the esports news desk. It's a YouTube channel that has done very well over the past couple of years, and Jake was one of the workers. I think he really helped it because he's a bright guy. He's good talent. He's good on the mic. And good for him. He's probably going to end up getting to work with the doc. King Keys with a $5 tip. Having my Zubair roast tastes like Lono after beating a Dark Souls boss. There you go. Who's going to be our first coffee order of the day, by the way? We've been selling so much coffee. We got to have that first order. Somebody's got to break the seal on the coffee orders. If you haven't ordered it before, we do have our own coffee. All right, I got a light roast, a dark roast, and then a holiday blend called the Frickmas blend. And people here can tell you how good it is. Esports Talk, is that what it's called? Okay. Okay, great. We actually had a decent turnaround on 80s teas last month, so that's good. It's not insane, but it's better than it was, that's for sure. Waiting for yours to come in the mail? There you go. Saw your premiere, curious who it was. Yeah. Got a bag the other day. Thank you. Yeah, you guys went nuts last week. I was always like, man, is it ever going to slow down? We have a lot of ways you can support the channel that goes beyond subscription. Hitting the subscribe button is totally free. So do me a favor, if you haven't hit subscribe yet, if you haven't hit the like button yet, do that. It is totally free for you to do that. The shirts I'm wearing are always from 80s Tees. You can get a great discount over there if you use my code. These are disc plates. We're partnered with them. You can get a great discount on disc plates if you use my link in the description below or use the command in chat. And if you're doing any last-minute Christmas shopping on Amazon, be sure to use my Amazon affiliate link in the description below or use the command in chat. You won't get a discount or anything, but if you click that Amazon link before shopping, it supports me, and I greatly appreciate that. That's what I like to see, 200 plus Frickmas, all for me. You seen the video about somebody being DMCA'd for reporting a bug? They'll make that right. I mean, come on. There's no way they're going to let that stand. They will walk that back and fix that. Somebody somewhere misfired. It'll be so easy for a human being to be like, oh yeah, no, this was an error. Do you remember what happened to Upper Echelon's video? They take it down immediately and issue a strike. Why? Because they err on the side of the claimant. Like the person that's claiming, hey, this is mine. And they have to do that. I think legally they have to do that because when you submit that form, you are doing so under penalty of perjury, which is hilarious because somebody basically committed perjury because two different people tried to claim Upper's video, which you can't do. So one of them was lying, and that's hilarious, right? How desperate can you be? But in this scenario, somebody at Amazon Games did this mistakenly, and YouTube automatically takes it down and issues the strike. A human being's going to look at this. This guy can appeal it and be like, what are you doing? I was warning players about a bug. And then YouTube will review it and potentially reach out to Amazon Games and be like, here is what his response is. And another person at Amazon's going to be like, oh my gosh, we're sorry. You can reinstate the video. They don't have to, but they've got a terrible system. No, I'm fairly certain they have to, homie. When you file that claim, if you go to a video right now and you file that claim, it's a legal document, my man. It's not just some person complaining, this video made me mad. No, it's a legal document that you sign under penalty of perjury, and YouTube has to honor it as soon as it's submitted. There's not some like middle ground where they can be like, okay, we'll review in the next 24 hours whether or not the Marvel Avengers movie that you just struck is legitimate or not. No, it comes down immediately. It's a serious offense. This did not get stated strongly enough. It's a serious offense to file a false copyright claim. It's a legal document. You are committing perjury. The people that did it to Upper should have been prosecuted. You're abusing a system in an illegal way. I believe he made a video about a bug and not an exploit. It'll be reversed. TBH, he has garnered more interest from the DMCA news as a result. Yeah, he'll probably be all right. I think if you file DMCA and it's a false claim, there should be consequences. Oh, I firmly believe it. The people that filed the false claims on Upper, they should have lost their YouTube accounts. Like that. Gone. Get out of here. You're lucky we don't... Like, YouTube should be like, yeah, you're lucky we don't sue you. Your accounts are gone. Like, that's what they should have done. They're lucky. They are lucky they got off with what they got off with, because there should have been consequences for that crap. That's not perjury? Yes, it is. When you sign the document, you say, under penalty of perjury, I am claiming that this is mine. And if you're lying, it's perjury. It's a legal document. Isn't perjury for not telling the truth while under oath in court? You do realize that perjury extends beyond, like, the classic court scenes you've seen on television and movies, right? Go downtown today, go to the police station, and file a report. And you sign a legal affidavit under penalty of perjury that, yes, my neighbor physically assaulted me. And if it comes back that you're lying, you are guilty of perjury. Perjury's only under oath. Look it up. That's false. My friend's detective for local metro. That's not true. You can commit perjury by signing a legal affidavit and submitting a wrong claim on an affidavit. Like, you go downtown and do that, you are guilty of perjury if you're lying. You're doing the same thing when you file a DMCA. You can be found guilty of perjury. You don't have to be like under oath in a courtroom. Perjury applies to affidavits as well. Yeah, thank you, Eugene. Eugene works in legal or lawyer, legalese, whatever. He's a lawyer. Falsified document could be fraud, not perjury. No, it literally is. It's literally true. It's in the document. It literally says, under penalty of perjury. You're submitting the legal affidavit saying this is true. And if you're lying, it's perjury. That's why there's the line at the bottom of the forms that says that you agree under penalty of perjury that everything you've stated is true. Yeah, it literally says it on the DMCA claim when you go to submit it. And yet, nobody that submits false copyright strikes gets any consequences. Like I said, it's a terrible system. Well, what you would have to do, Reese, is whoever submitted it would have to be formally charged by the person that was affected by it. YouTube's not going to go out here and formally charge and sue every dum-dum that does this. They don't have time for that crap. But let's say you're PewDiePie and somebody does that to you and disrupts your daily income for 24 hours. You could sue them, yes. And he could go after them and say, this is a false claim, I proved it was a false claim, and I'm suing this organization that did this. And then they would be found guilty of perjury, and they would suffer other consequences other than just the civil consequences if he wins, and then they owe him monetary compensation. They could also face other problems because they committed perjury. Criminal offense of making a false statement under oath, especially in a legal document or during a legal proceeding. There's the official definition. Like, if you make a false statement under oath in a legal document or under a legal proceeding. So like when you sign the document, that's like you saying under the oath of the agreement, like, yep, this is all true. DMCAs are content creators' version of slap suits. Right. In any case, the document you sign when you do that copyright claim says just that. And that's why YouTube immediately takes action. Because it's not just some little Google report form that you submit. It's an actual legal document that someone submits and says, this video contains my intellectual property in a replicative way that's wrong, or like a disparaging way that's wrong. Like in this case with like video games, they're allowed to make a claim on a video if you're showing how to break, exploit, or cheat. They're allowed to claim those videos and say, no, those have to come down. We're protecting our intellectual property. They're within their rights to do that, to say you can't distribute this content, right? And so that's why YouTube has to take the video down. We just went on a big rabbit trail to explain that. Perjury extends beyond court. Under oath or under the penalty of perjury, lawyer here sips coffee. There we go. Thank you. A couple of lawyers in the video backing me, in the chat, backing me on this. I don't think a single person has ever been prosecuted for that. There's literally never been a penalty for it. So at least right now, there's no reason to take it seriously. Yeah, and this is one of the reasons why. I'll tell you why. It's because when it's released, so like in upper echelon scenario, right? It was done twice by just two idiots, right? Whoever did it to Upper's video is just hilariously stupid. He's not going to want to spend money to go after them. Because more than likely, he'll spend more than he gets. Just getting started, like if he calls his lawyer, that's costing him money. If he sends an email, that's costing him money. If he goes forward and says, I want to go after these people because they hurt my channel for, 16 hours or whatever the frick, the lawyer's going to say, okay, we can do this, we can claim this, we can go after him for this much, you can go after him for $10,000. After it's all said and done, Upper's going to spend anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000 to just get to the point where he might get the money. So he's going to spend more than he's going to get. That's why most of the time in these situations, YouTubers are just like, get the frick out of here. The video's been released. The strike has been removed. I'm going on with my life. That's what this guy will do. Unless you're the poor schmuck who loses the first landmark case for false DMCA claim. Yeah. You're the first one, and it just doesn't go well for you. That's exactly right. You don't want to be that guy either. So yeah, nobody's going to go. The legal costs alone are why none of this stuff ever happens. Hey, oh my, we're getting some coffee orders. Man, oh man, here we go. We got 2 bags of Frickmas to Poop Sack. My man, appreciate you. What a name. We got a bag of Frickmas and a bag of Dark Roast going to Robert. Thank you, Robert. Appreciate you very, very much. 2 coffee sales already for the day. Someone should create a legal company that will fight DMCAs for a small monthly fee. I would say right now in the content creator in the digital realm, I think there is room for, what would you call that? Paralegal or digital? I don't even know what you would call it, but like a company that's literally all they do. You know how like if you get in a car accident, right? You if it's bad enough, these lawyers try to get in touch with you, right? I would say that with like what happened to me, if in 10 years, if that sort of a thing happens, you're going to have like 8 lawyers reaching out to you, being like, we're going to help you with this. We'll help you. We'll send CNDs. We'll shut this down. We'll strike down any videos. We'll work to help you for this much money. We'll represent you, and we'll try to get this all stopped and minimized. I wouldn't be surprised if in 10 years that's a thing. Like if you get canceled or slandered or whatever, you'll have like legal organizations reaching out to be like, yeah, we'll take care of you for a fee. A judge awards damages in a false DMC takedown case in 2015. Yeah, there you go. So it has happened. For the first time, a party which received a DMCA takedown notice with material misrepresentations has been awarded money damages. Yeah. Didn't that happen with H3H3? They won their case, and wasn't that a guy claiming DMCA, like he was claiming their videos? And they took him to court and they won. I'm fairly certain that H3H3 won that case. That was a similar thing, wasn't it? Wasn't there some guy claiming that that might have been, maybe they countersued. Wasn't he claiming defamation or something? And they were like, no, we had every right to use the footage. I can't remember what it was. There's already a lawyer that specializes in defamation and canceling. I wish. Will they help me out pro bono? I'm going to have some real juicy stuff pretty soon from former Bungie employees. I already do have some pretty good stuff. Maybe they can talk to me. An IP lawyer could handle DMCA? Sure. Yeah. If you're tuning in for the New World update, if you missed it, there is a 1.5 hour long video on the New World YouTube channel, and it is entitled December New World Team Update, which to me indicates that we will likely then see a January New World Team Update. They did indicate that there is a big update coming to the game in February, and the New World DLC is apparently that sounds like it's gonna be one of the bigger updates. We're not sure, and I've been saying we need a New World roadmap and that their communication needs to be significantly better. And I think that this video that they did, this is what it looks like. They're all sitting at like a table. I think this video is a step in the right direction of them improving their communication and doing like state of the game updates. So I thought H3 and Angry Joe both won some sort of fair use cases. Yeah, that was fair use, which would fall under DMCA. Yeah. If they won fair use of whatever it was that they were using. Sure. Will you still get the info if you're not going to do a video on it? Yeah. The information I'm getting, Ashen, is significantly stronger than what I want to do with a video. I don't want to disrupt my content, and there's a lot more that we could potentially do other than like make a petty video. You know what I mean? So, yeah. It wouldn't be a petty video, but that's how people would view it, and so I don't know. It's like somebody giving you like a scalpel to fight an elephant. It's not going to do much. You're just going to swing it at this big giant elephant. It's not going to do anything. But a scalpel used in the right way can be incredibly effective. They didn't go after them criminally for perjury, but that's hard to charge to prosecute, TBH. Are you getting that stuff checked by a lawyer because they will see if you step out of line? That's another reason why I don't want to put any of it on my content, because they would do everything they can to hurt me if I went forward with the things I've been told. And I don't feel like dealing with it, because let me tell you, what I'm getting, they don't want it hitting the public airwaves, and yeah. I think it's weird that game companies can claim gameplay content. Right now, game companies aren't doing that because there's no reason to. Now, the reason that they don't want to is for a handful of reasons. Number one, it's free marketing, so the PR of that would be awful. Number two, it's very easy to prove it's derivative, which falls under fair use. You would lose. Nintendo was getting away with that, and they don't do that anymore. And if they try to do it now, the only reason they would get away with it is because, again, people don't want to fight a company that size. Do you understand? So, if they did it, they would likely lose if the person fought back. Because it's very easy to prove it's derivative. You could say, yes, this is your intellectual property. I am playing Super Mario Party, but it's derivative. I'm in the content. I'm in the frame. I'm commentating, right? So this is derivative content and therefore falls under fair use. Now, you would win, but it'd be really tough because you're talking about fighting companies that are so large that you would probably run out of money before you could win. Nintendo still demonetizes videos. Well, there's a difference between demonetizing and claiming that you can't publish it, right? There's a big difference. So now we're talking about two different things. Demonetizing a video is something that they do because they know most people aren't going to try to fight back. Claiming the video and having it taken down, that's entirely different. And that is something most of these companies aren't going to try to do because you're bucking up against fair use. If I make a video right now playing through a Nintendo game and I'm on screen and I'm talking and I'm commentating, that is derivative and is therefore protected. It's under fair use. I can do that right now if I go and watch someone else's YouTube video. Falls under fair use. Now, you can't do this when something is protected by a broadcast agreement. So you can't, like what happened when people were watching clips of the Olympics and getting in trouble, because there is a legal document and a copyright protection for that particular broadcast, and they're able to say, no, you can't do like reaction content to NFL games because it's protected by a broadcast agreement. A video game doesn't fall under that. It just doesn't. I believe people could send you interesting info, but I see nothing useful for you to do with it. Somebody told me blah, blah. No evidence. Yeah, but personal testimony from ex-employees about certain things is certainly worthy of a conversation, at least. Maybe not with the public, but playing the game is a gray area. I don't know. I think the reason companies don't do it is twofold. I don't think development companies want to shut down free PR, and I also don't think that companies want to wander into fighting fair use because they're going to lose. They might win in the beginning. You shut down a couple of people from creating videos with your content, but eventually YouTubers and even YouTube would push back and be like, what the frick are you doing? This is fair use. It's just people playing your game. It's derivative and is therefore protected. You can't do this. Because when you buy it, guarantee the EULA doesn't allow you to publicly broadcast it. I don't know about that. I'm curious if companies have that baked into their EULA. VTubers have to get permission from the developers and publishers of games they play on stream because of how copyright laws work in Japan. Like at the bottom of each stream description, it will say Game X was streamed and monetized with the permission of developers Y. Oh, really? Wow. Is streaming games basically against most games TOS? I don't know. I have no idea. Eugene's presuming that it's baked in to their EULAs. Now, a judge might find that EULA is not binding and be like, no, this is illegitimate in the age of live streaming and YouTube. You can't claim that your game is. They could find that the actual EULA is, I don't even know what the word would be for it, Eugene. Can't you have things in a EULA and in a terms of service that are found to be untenable, unenforceable? I'm not even sure what it is. You can't create a EULA that's like, if your name isn't Steve, we can delete your files. Like, you can't do that. You can't create like unreasonable restraints or something. I don't know what it's called. Aren't there limitations on what you can put in a contract in terms of service? Like, it's just like unenforceable. Like, you can't do this. Broadcasting a playthrough of an entire game, there's no way that falls under fair use. They've allowed streaming because it's free advertising. If fair use gets crushed, Purple and YouTube will get sued into oblivion. Unenforceable? Don't you agree that video games are different than videos, movies, then you make content about it? Yeah, I just don't know. It does fall under fair use because you play the game differently. You go into a corner, you get stuck, you take a break, you use a sword instead of a spear, or you skip a dialogue tree instead of engaging with it. Like, it's derivative, it's unique to you and your own commentary and what you're doing. I don't know. I don't know if is that a thing? We grant you a limited revocable license to create non-commercial projects incorporating our game content to support our game communities such as Purple Broadcast, fan art, and fan fictions, and according with our game's content usage policy. You grant us non-exclusive, worldwide, perpetual, irrevocable, transferable, sub-licensable, royalty-free, and fully paid-up license to use, reproduce, modify, create derivative works of, publicly display, publicly perform, and distribute your community projects. You may not use our game in another game content in another game, or extract game content. Yeah, but that's community projects. I mean, I guess that kind of covers it. The thing about Mystery Science Theater, they couldn't just watch any movie they wanted because of fair use, even though riffing a movie is indeed new content. Yeah, but movies are protected by something... aren't movies protected by a contractual agreement of the distribution of the movie, and therefore if you don't have the contractual agreement to distribute it, that's why you can't do it. Video games don't fall under that. There's a difference between a movie and an NFL broadcast because those pieces of content are protected by a contract. If I make a movie and we get a contract to have it distributed on HBO, HBO can come in and say, hey, you can't distribute that. We paid money for the sole rights to distribute this movie. Video games don't fall under that. Because video game companies aren't going to one particular place and saying, we're going to sell you the sole rights to broadcast this. Now, that might start happening. You could see, like, YouTube going to Microsoft and saying, hey, when the Elder Scrolls launches, we want the first month of the sole distribution rights of live streams of the Elder Scrolls Online. We're willing to pay for it. And then everybody on purple is screwed because you can't. Because there's a contract that restricts your ability to do so. As far as I know, there's nothing like that for video games currently. Now, a EULA might have something in it that's like, yeah, we're granting you the ability to do this, but we can revoke it at any time. So it's different. Streaming a game is the whole game with some dude's face in the bottom corner. Right, but again, the difference between a movie and a television show is that the movie and the television show is protected by a contract of sole distribution. Like right now, like The Office got taken off of Netflix and Peacock now retains the sole distribution rights. So you can't just upload episodes of The Office and react to them. Why? Because you don't have distribution rights. A video game doesn't fall under that because there is no contract about sole distribution rights of a video game. It falls under a completely different category. This is all gray, by the way. None of this has been settled. I'm sure there are development companies right now that are trying to come up with ways to profit from this or potentially restrict the distribution of their games, and it's backfired every time they've tried to do it. Wasn't there a game recently, last year or the year before, where they were enforcing DMCA if you played past Mission 4 or something? They were like, no, you cannot do that. And they were shutting down any distribution of that game's story past, like, Mission 4. The publisher has the distribution rights. And they what? Just don't care that other people are distributing the game? Now, the publisher has distribution rights for sales, Eugene, not necessarily, like, broadcasting distribution rights, or do they? Yeah, it was Persona that did that. Persona was like, yeah, you can't play a mission past Mission 4 or whatever. Also depends on the person streaming. Fair use laws in the US is different from Japan, which is different also from China. Nintendo is banning streamers that stream, what was it? It was Hyrule Warriors. What was this? For playing Hyrule Warriors? Another instance where EULA will not be enforceable is where the terms are ridiculous or in conflict with the land's prevailing laws. Under German law, end-user license agreements can be categorized as AGB, meaning general terms and conditions which are generally valid but not always enforceable. Yeah, there are definitely, if they're going to claim that, like, yeah, you can't stream this ever, like, is that enforceable? Concerning right now, the land's prevailing law is that that's fair use. That's what the general prevailing copyright law in America would be like, no, that's fair use. There aren't any distribution contracts. It's not like you're distributing something that only Amazon has a right to broadcast, like the Wheel of Time or something. This is a video game and would fall under fair use. The land's prevailing law right now would say that's not enforceable. You can't stop people from streaming your game. Now, Nintendo's different because Nintendo is Japanese owned and they likely can just say, no, our prevailing law is we can dictate who broadcasts this. There's no legal way you can make money by letting people watch you play on a broadcast. They're letting it slide because of whatever the gray area is. Well, I think it would be a nightmare to enforce because so many people would push back, and Americans and American-owned developers, their TOS and EULA wouldn't fit with the law of the land. People would be like, no, this falls under fair use. It would cost them so much money to try to put a stop to it. I think if Rockstar wanted to shut down all streaming of GTA, they could. And this is what I said. I think initially you're right, they could. But slowly but surely, people would start pushing back. They would start losing fair use cases, and then it would be a groundswell. Then it would be a potential class action. Because then everybody that got hurt by it, or damaged by it, or lost money, or their channels were damaged, or whatever, they could all throw it on the class action and be like, this was undue harm and a misuse of DMCA claim, and all of our broadcasts fall under fair use, because if one person wins, you then have case law. One big enough YouTuber could win, and if they win the fair use, then it's over. You would be like, oh yeah, everybody else now has, that now it's established case law. That's why I don't think companies would ever want to do this. You could win initially, sure, because nobody would cross you. Like, who's going to sue a company that size? Who? Like, okay, I guess all my content's gone. And then eventually somebody would push back somewhere, and you'd lose a fair use case, and then you'd have case law, and then you'd have a class action on your hands. Anywhere there's really big money, pro gaming competitions, you bet the farm, the game maker, or owner is getting paid. Oh yeah, sure. That's why companies like to get into esports, because there's billions to be made. Yeah. Do you co-stream the Nintendo Direct this year? No, I didn't, because it got really, really weird. Nintendo bans monetize YouTube live streams of their games. That's really old news, isn't it, though? That's ancient. They don't do that anymore. That was written in 2017. Yeah, that's a 4-year-old article. They don't do that anymore, I don't think. I've never had any of my Nintendo stuff demonetized. Now, when they did their Nintendo Direct, they were really weird about it. They were like, they said people could, but then they said people couldn't co-stream. And I was like, you think I'm going to go to battle with Nintendo? We're not co-streaming it. So I reacted to it on my phone with you guys, and then they said that we could re-watch it after the fact. It was super weird. They were like, you don't co-stream, but you can re-watch it after the fact. So that's what we did. I sat here with my phone like a complete moron, and then afterwards we reacted. And the years prior, they didn't care if anybody co-streamed Nintendo Direct, and then this year they got really weird about it. And I was just like, okay. You know what I mean? They let it slide because it's beneficial to them. It's not just beneficial to them. I think you're being reductionist. These companies aren't just letting live streaming of games slide because it's good for them. They're also letting it slide because you're talking about a legal nightmare. You want to go out right now and take down every video of your video game? You want to do that and risk litigation and risk losing a fair use case against anybody who's got the stones and the money to push back? These companies don't care about that. They care about making video games. And the publishers, I mean, maybe the publishers might, because but again, they don't want to throw away potential revenue in a bunch of litigation. It's not as simple as, well, we're letting this slide because it's good for us. They're also letting it slide because they don't want to have to get tied up in court cases with 10,000 different content creators. It would be a PR nightmare, and it would potentially be years of litigation. Over what? Some guy sitting in a corner being like, I love Red Dead Redemption. Like, who cares? They're not going to want to get tied up in any of that. It would be awful. It would not be good for them, the company. It wouldn't be good for gaming. Reaction content's a gray area too. It certainly is. It certainly is. Like, we were going to get into that, and we still need to find a place for it, of like me finding a really juicy clip of something, like Russell Brand says something, or, some idiot says something, on his YouTube channel or whatever, and like reacting to what they said. I don't want to go watch somebody's 20-minute video and sit in the corner and be like, that was funny. Oh my gosh. Bleh. Like, we're going to do a reaction channel to Dude Perfect. Like, oh my gosh, they hit the shot. Like, that's, no thank you. Your poll is missing option E. I don't care about New World. You know, it's funny that I don't care about your input on my poll. What would be the point of that? If you don't care about New World, then why would I care about your input on a poll about a New World update stream that they did? Well, not stream, sorry, it's a video. If you guys haven't seen it yet, the New World update that it's an hour and a half long. It's on their YouTube channel. It's called the December New World Team Update. And it seems that, titling it the December update, they're going to be doing this again in January. That would be my hope. I was very thrilled to see this. I think this is well within the line of what I said they should be doing, that, getting out and speaking to the public and being better about updating the community. I think this is a good first step in making the communication lines better. I will say I totally understand not allowing co-streaming a live show. Too many flubs or gaffes possible. They can edit it and allow people to show it. Well, a Nintendo Direct is all pre-recorded. Nintendo doesn't do live events, except for their Treehouse stuff, which is them sitting and playing and just talking with an interviewer. The Nintendo Direct stuff's always pre-recorded and sliced up in, it's just a video that they play. They've been doing that for 4 or 5 years. And then they do the Nintendo Treehouse stuff, and that's live. They skirt the rules on a lot of reaction videos, or they're flat out infringement, but again, how much commentary, how much exactly used is important. Generally speaking, if you're a YouTuber with a brain in your head, if you got a brain in your skull, and someone's doing reaction content to your content, you don't care. Do you honestly think I care? Like, if Asmongold tomorrow did a roast video where he watched this entire stream and made fun of me, I wouldn't give a rip. Like, thanks, buddy. Thanks for the 10,000 people that probably subbed me. You see what I'm saying? If he gets 250,000 views on a video reacting to my content, do you have any idea how much I don't care about that? I don't care how big your channel is. If you have a channel right now with 5,000 people that are subbed and you react to some of my content, I don't give a rip. As long as it's clear, who I am in the screen. If you try to hide who I am, I'm not going to tell you who this guy is. I blurred out the corner so you can't even see his branding, and I'm going to make fun of this guy. Well, then I would request that the video be taken down. I'm like, well, this is disparaging content, which is against community guidelines, and he's not even telling people who I am. I must say, the past few days I was playing on New World again because of the winter event. And I didn't touch the Destiny content I paid for. I really liked the winter event. I got to swap out my gaming rigs because I have a really strong gaming rig that I started using again, and it's not getting along with New World. It just keeps crashing my system. So I'm going to have to take it in and see if they can't do some benchmark testing on it and just see, why is this thing resetting itself? I might try out some other games on it, and if other games run fine, then I guess it's going to be pointless to take to a shop. Is there any chance that Amazon Games will allow us to collect as many Azoth as far as we can for travel? I'm fine with them charging us for travel and respecs, but why put a cap on it? They are making changes to Azoth, so they did say New World fast travel is going to get better within the realm of they're adding more shrines to the map, making the shrines easier to find, and they're removing the cost that goes up if you're further away. So if you're going all the way from Ebonscale to whatever that place is up in the right corner, if you're going that far, you're not going to pay more Azoth because it's far. It's going to be flattened out. They're not going to be doing that any longer. So the thing with Azoth is you're obviously using... The farther you have to travel, the more likely you're going to be, to want to fast travel. So it's completely counterproductive to be like, you got to go really, really far. Well, we're going to charge you more Azoth for that. They're minimizing that, and they're putting more shrines on the map. So, and you run faster on roads. I think their approach to fast travel is admirable because they don't want to just give you mounts or suddenly make it to where you can, hitch a ride on an eagle or something. I think what they're doing is good because traveling through the world is part and parcel to the experience in New World. The New World gameplay content loop is very much centering around the idea that you have to be out and about in the world and running around and seeing trees fall and killing bears or running from an alligator. That's part of the experience, and they can't just completely neuter that out of the experience by letting you just do whatever you want as much as you want. Just fast travel here, fast travel there, go here, and then you're never traveling. I think they're doing a good job of respecting the identity of the game and the quality that they've baked into it, while also trying to meet you on the ground and say, okay, we'll make this a little less painful. We don't want you to feel like fast traveling is an absolute nightmare. And I think it's good. I think the changes that they outlined are very, very sensible and fair. That was my biggest problem with the game. I'm happy with this change. Okay, good. I got around that by setting my inn and my houses on opposite sides of the map. Well, you can certainly be strategic, Techno, but not everybody can do that because of who owns the territory. Not everybody can do that according to like what they're interested in doing. But that is a good strategy, yes, is to use your inn location and your house location to, make a triangle, right? Like my house is at the very bottom of the map, and then my inn is up at the center. So like if I have to go anywhere, those are decent positions that are like, okay, I'll go there first, and then it's close. And then that helps me save Azoth on my first couple of travels. You should check out the aptitude bug. I have not heard about this until just now, you typing it in my chat. As John said, I feel traveling is good now after all the Azoth vials we get. Yeah, they've also, if you're struggling with Azoth, I would think that you're playing the game in an odd way. Like you should have a pretty healthy flow of it, and you shouldn't be feeling like you're getting chopped at the legs anymore. I know that they were, initially early game also, I think, is where most people feel the pain. And to be quite honest, the early game is where you should be traveling more and not just bouncing around the map, if that makes sense. You shouldn't, when the game first opens, the last thing I think you want to do is give people the ability to bypass all of the early game substance. Good morning, Christina. So, New World gameplay in the early stages, like it's really important for you to just like go around and do stuff. If the game opened and you were able to just fast travel everywhere, it wouldn't work. You wouldn't be leveling anything. You wouldn't be learning the ins and outs of the game. And to the point that people have asked for servers that are specifically built and launched so people can have the early game ground rush experience. Did you see this? This was talked about in one of their blogs, where I think it was the end game one about Gypsum, and they said, listen, we have heard people requesting this particular experience. Hey guys, we're launching 20 servers for you to get the early game ground rush brand new character experience. And they're considering how they could do that, right? So, if they could do something similar to No Man's Sky Expeditions. Now, No Man's Sky Expeditions is a confusing thing because Expeditions and New World are very different. But No Man's Sky launched seasonal content. And their seasonal content is you load in and you create an expedition character, and it kind of randomly throws you on a planet with all these various objectives to do. When you do all those objectives, you get really, really cool things, unlocks, and then eventually if you do all of them, you get cosmetics, and then those cosmetics can be handed to your main No Man's Sky character, right? Tracking with me? Okay, so them doing this, what ends up happening is you then have a seasonal reason to have that early game experience in No Man's Sky, and people really like that. It was a brilliant idea that Hello Games came up with. New World could do something similar and say, we are going to launch something called seasonal characters. And you can go to a seasonal server, and the seasonal servers will have start dates and end dates. And you can make a character on that date, jump in, and experience the unsettled world of Eternum. And that character, if you do enough things, there would be specific, like, seasonal things that you can only do on that server. And if you get those things, you could unlock cosmetics that you could transfer to your main character. We are on the Eden server, North America East, Eden, as in the Garden of Eden. Yo, Redoic with a brand new membership. Enjoy the dope badge and emotes. You are dope and deserve dope stuff. Guys, if you want to support the channel directly with a paid membership, they start at $5 a month. and you can click the join button or use the join command in chat. We hit the goal of 400 members. Our next goal is 500 members. Every time we hit a milestone like that, we'll do something to celebrate. You guys hit 400, so we brought back split screen on a Friday night. If you want to take part in custom games on Friday nights with us, you do need to be a member, and you do get increased access in our Discord. You don't have to use our Discord if you're not into Discord servers, but if you're trying to connect with people to play New World, Halo, and all these other games, our Discord's set up for that, and we offer the expanded access for paid members. So thank you. If you want to support the channel, easiest thing to do is to hit subscribe. That's free. And I'll be in your sub feed every day, Monday through Friday, with live shows about video game news topics, and I am safe for work. So a lot of people throw me on in the background and just I get you through the day, and you don't got to worry about the language I'm going to use. So you can subscribe in confidence, and smashing the like button also helps. Any spots available in the coffee crew on Eden? I'm over there and still leveling up at 42. Yeah, Corver. Yep. We tend to like to reserve spots in the company for paid members, but I only think we're at like 40 or 50 on the company. We're not full. We're about half full. So we have plenty of room for people on North American East in our New World server. It is one of the healthier servers, so we kind of lucked out there, and we're happy to get more people in. If you're not in a position to become a member, we'll get you in either way. You can become a member when it's convenient, as like a just an appreciation for getting in the company. I'm not going to keep people out of the company if they're not a member or can't maintain a membership. But we do just ask, like, hey, we've got a Discord, we've got this community, we've got this thing I'm doing daily to foster all of this. If you're in a position to, a membership is a very, very great way to support what we're doing, what I'm doing here. And if not, don't worry, I'm still happy to get people in the company to fill it up. What's good, Takashi? Since the value of crafting got nerfed, I think new balancing is needed. Takashi, they talked about that in the stream, in the video. This video here, the December New World team update, they talked about crafters in the end game and what they want for crafters and everything else. I don't know if it speaks to your frustration or if they're missing the mark. I'd be interested to see what you or other crafters think of what they said in this video, because I'm not really a crafter. Distorted says, my faction is dominating my server. I'll switch to Eden once I can switch factions again. I do have a tune over there now, though. Nice. We paid for the healthy server with waiting in queue for 15 hours. That's right. Are you here all week this week? We may be doing a stream Friday morning. I know that's Christmas Eve, but we might just do one show that day, because usually up until lunch, my family's taking it easy anyway. And we'll see, because I don't want to. From Fridays have been so excellent. We might just do a From Friday in the morning and then just hold off on Sekiro gameplay for that day. Just like get a good Elden Ring topic. Maybe Elden Ring will do something this week that we can talk about that we feel would be worth a show. And we would just do the morning show. I'm not going to make any promises, though. Definitely not streaming on Saturday. I don't stream on the weekends anyway. But Saturday is Christmas, so. Yo, good morning, Zubair. John says, crafting with the aptitude chest is actually far more rewarding. It's a buff. When Kareem says nerf, he may mean nerf to leveling XP. Takashi says, my server will be merged in an hour, but the receiving world seems low pop as well, about the same. Wondering if multiple servers will merge at once. I thought they were saying that host servers were commonly going to be receiving more than one server. I thought that they made it sound like that was going to be a common occurrence. That like if you were a host server, you were potentially going to be receiving multiple servers at once. They didn't guarantee it, but they definitely seemed to indicate that was a possibility. King Key says, Zubair, the dark roast is magnificent. I wanted to join membership anywhere, so easy peasy. Oh, we didn't get an announcement, but Corver became a member. Thank you for doing that, Corver. Enjoy the dope badge and emotes. You are dope and deserve dope stuff. I think we unlock another emote if we get like 40 or something more maybe less than that. You guys kind of went crazy. We kind of blew past the goal. Let me see. I think, what did you guys want next? Lono. I think you guys wanted Lono Sip next. Let me go in here and take a peek at where we are on that. They've moved everything around. Yeah, because we're at 418. We're almost at 420. We're almost at 420. Where is the... There it is. Badges and emojis. They moved everything around. Right now, we need 32 more members. Yeah, we need like 40-something. So we only need like 32 more members to unlock an emote. That's pretty good. We might get that this week if we keep pushing it. I was never a fan of doing that, but YouTube's a little different. We kind of have to set membership goals here. Purple, we didn't have to do that. It's a very different culture. So, very true. Starfield Games sends out a tweet here that reads, and they sent this today, 7 minutes ago. During your travels, you'll discover many unique environments, some lush and abundant with life. Okay. You have my attention. Okay, Starfield, I see you. You have my attention. That looks nice. That looks very nice. Oh, well, 5 are merging with our server, says Christina. 5? Jiminy Christmas. Have they said what they're doing with inactive players on merged servers? If they find a way to bring people back, it could cause massive queues again. Reese's, I would say, if that happens, that's a problem that they're perfectly okay with. Let me explain what I mean. If right now they merge 2 or 3 servers into one host, and those 2 or 3 servers have a lot of inactive players that all come rushing back for the February update, and then that server experiences queue times, you better believe that Amazon Games will throw confetti in the air and be like, that's good. Do you want to know why? Because number 1, it's a good problem to have. Number 2, they know it's momentary. Number 3, it would create a very, very clear drive of, oh man, everybody wants in. It must be good. It would create at least the illusion of demand. Let's say the update sucks. At least for the time, people will be like, oh my gosh, this must be really good. And number 4, it'd be free press. Amazon Games delivers such an amazingly big substantive update for New World that the servers have been thrown back into lengthy queue times. That's a headline that is totally good for them and not bad for them. So, I don't think it's going to happen, Reese's Vids, but if it does, I don't think that they would be alarmed by it. Like, oh no, server queues, whatever will we do? Like, the server queues that they dealt with during launch week were they were crazy. They were crazy. And they had to just throw up servers because it was like, oh my word, what are we gonna do? They didn't have much of a choice, you know? What is this? Oh, I was like, it's that time of year, you're supposed to renew or change your plan or whatever with all of the health insurance. And they email you every day. Just so if you want to see a breakdown. No, I don't. The same email every day. Encumbrance being one of the key words. Remember, the higher your crafting is, the more hurdles one has to overcome. More mats, higher tier stations, and more FT is needed overall. The cap in Azoth amounts to time gating people. Takashi, did you hear how they're making fast travel in Azoth work better in your favor, though? Did you hear that update? We outlined that a little bit ago. So what they've done is they're not going to charge you more Azoth when you're traveling corner to corner. If you're going really, really far, they're not going to charge you more for that. So Azoth isn't going to go up and down in cost depending on how far you're going. And they're putting more shrines in the world and making them a lot easier to find. So all the shrines are now on your map instead of just being like a beam of light in the sky. You're not very confident about that? Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a start, and it might not help you. It just depends, I think, sometimes. I think it depends whether or not the lion's share of the people at the end of the game that feel the same way as you, is it landing on their content rhythm, you know? That would be the question. You know, is that enough to offset what's frustrating people? I would say this is always going to be a tension in the game that, you know, people feel a certain way, and some of that's based on reality and some of it's based on perception. And when it's based on reality, that's usually when you see the changes. Because what happens is like you might say this is broken and busted and extremely challenging, right? And they might look at it and say, okay, well, we're getting people that are saying this is busted, broken, and too challenging, okay? And they run the numbers and they're like, well, it seems that completion ratios are right where we want to see them. So like reality has to kind of correct perception, and they might come out and say, listen, we know some of you are saying that this encounter is, you know, broken, busted, and too challenging. We're looking at completion ratios and our projection and sort of our simulations and where we thought that would land, and it's landing well within the percentages that we thought would be good and healthy. So the reality has to land on the perception and sort of inform it. So your perception, like, well, Azoth's a joke, and this is too hard, and this is too strange, could be a perception that's perfectly in line with reality. And when they see that internally and they don't like where it is, then they would correct it, and then hopefully that would help your experience get better. Now, they might look at the numbers and say, we are actually totally okay with the Azoth economy after a month of these changes, and therefore your perception that it didn't help is... it's wrong. Like, they would say it's wrong. I mean, they wouldn't say that to you, but you see what I'm saying? Distance on average amounts to a third of the cost, depending on location. Territory costs and encumbrance are the hard hitters. But the question I would have is, why are you traveling with so much encumbrance, right? That would be my question. If you're giving yourself lots of encumbrance and then trying to travel, aren't you meant to not do that? Like, put stuff in storage and you know, increase your capacity of carrying weight? Is it a ratio of your carrying weight or your total carrying weight? Fast travel is only becoming better because in the alpha testing of the store, they said that fast travel access would be an available store purchase to help convenience new players catching up. Do you think that's still coming then? Because it's currently not in the game right now. There's not a microtransaction that centers around fast travel. You need to move mats to refine and craft. And so that's what you're saying is driving up your encumbrance. Defender's advantage on sieges is a nice example of what you're saying. Everyone was saying it's busted until Amazon Games said they want defenders to win more often. Right. And so it's like, okay, your perception is like, it has to be in line with reality. And the reality is they're like, no, that's how it should be. And you're like, oh. A lot of players aren't aware that there's 3 forts which lower your cost of traveling if your company takes them. Right, and that's one of the dilemmas of a game that is run and built around, like, New World gameplay very much centers around the idea that if you're taking over territories and winning territories, you're having a better experience. You're saving money, you're flourishing. And if your companies are, or your factions getting the snot kicked out of it, then you're going to have a bad time in the game. And, you know, encumbrance is total weight, not percentage of the total. See, I think that'd be another good change. It should be percentage of the total. Because if I spend a bunch of time and money and resources and I get my total carrying capacity up really high, and I'm only at 30 or 40% of my carrying capacity, I should benefit from that with respect to fast travel. Because the idea there would be that for me, this is actually a light amount. Does that make sense? If I get my carrying capacity to 1,000 and I'm carrying 500, and your carrying capacity is 500, you're barely able to move. You're like a pound away from a total encumbrance, and I'm like halfway there. I'm stronger than you, right? Power Fantasy would say that I am stronger than you. Why? Are my bags bigger? No, I'm stronger. I can carry more weight, and therefore, if I'm at 50% carrying capacity, it should be based off of that. If you have 495 and I have 495, but I'm only halfway to my capacity, then that should be cheaper for me to fast travel. You're like a slug on the ground practically. You can barely move and should therefore have to pay more for the fast travel. You didn't manage your inventory well. Maybe you set off on this journey and you left and you were already at 70% before you left, right? You got to manage your inventory better. In my opinion, that's a non-issue. That would just encourage people to jam stuff in their stash to travel for cheaper. But they're already doing that, Ilarian. What do you mean? You don't think that's something happening right now? People jam stuff in their stash so that they can travel for cheaper? That's literally what people do right now. I don't think that adds any particular depth to the game. Why not instead just make a travel skill that reduces the cost of travel? Okay, you understand, Ilarian, you just said that you want to do what I'm suggesting, but by adding a new system. So if I invest in my carrying capacity, that would reduce my cost of travel, because when I'm carrying 500, I'm only at 50% of my capacity. You're saying, well, no, give me a travel skill that reduces the cost of travel. That's the same thing, is it not? I can invest right now in my carrying capacity. I'm saying that investing in my carrying capacity should limit the cost of fast travel. You're just moving it to another system. There's no reason for that. There's no reason for that. You don't need a new system. There's already a system in the game right now where they could say, okay, yeah, we'll charge you Azoth according to percentage of weight, not total weight. No, sorry, sarcasm didn't carry. I'm saying it's not a good gameplay system. Travel should cost what it costs, period. Well, no, I don't agree with that. You kind of need to craft higher tier items to level up, and for those requirements, they get exponentially higher when you factor in farming spots and crafting stations. So yeah, and you should have a way in the late game to offset that. And you should be like, listen, I'm a late game crafter. I got to go grab 85 rocks and 200 trees and 68 stones and 47 cows and strap them all to my back, right? And then I come back to town and I'm ready to craft. Well, because you're requiring me to get so many dadgum items, you gotta let me mitigate the cost of traveling with all of these items. And I think increasing your own capacity through crafting larger travel bags is a system that's already in the game that could be exactly what we're saying. Oh, hey, you're late game. If you craft this certain thing or bag or box or backpack or whatever the heck, if you craft it and then you equip it, it's going to make it to where when you fast travel, your capacity is factored in and you only pay for the percentage. Or we're just going to lower the cost of fast travel anyway. You can craft bags that do that. Basically what we're discussing is that travel costing something is a pain. It gives no benefit to the player. It is simply a tax to exist in the game and not waste your time. But I think that's reductionist. I don't think it's just something to cause the player pain. It's to make you make good decisions. If you're consistently managing your inventory well and going out into the world and you're saying to yourself, I am going to, go do XYZ today and I need to prepare well for it and take things or not take things or whatever the frick, you are making decisions that are good, bad, or reckless depending upon the systems within the game. And fast travel is one of those systems that gives you that sense of, yeah, I've got to manage my time in the game well. It's not just to be an inconvenience and a frustration point. I think that's oversimplifying it. It's like when a game restricts your freedom with respect to your loadout. They're not trying to be a jerk and cause you pain. What they're trying to do is give you a sense of importance of choice. And then you take pride in the good decision making. Whether or not you found really good items that make you stronger in the game now, and you took the time to do all that, and because you took the time to do all that, you got equipped and use items, and that means you can't use these other items, and in so doing, you are stronger and better at healing or something. And then you take a lot of pride in that. You say, well, I took the time to do this, and this makes my character unique to me and what I bring to the table. And then the person next to you does a completely different thing. They say, oh, well, I'm going to go a completely different route than you. And when a player has to choose A instead of B, and the A nets a result, you are then very, very proud and woven to that decision. You feel as if you've created the character, or you've created the power that's in the world. I think that's actually a very good system to have. And so in this regard, fast travel, if you manage your inventory and your Azoth and your endgame loop well, traveling around the world, freely is a sense of power and achievement. Loadout restrictions is entirely about game balance. Fast travel cost planning is not anywhere in that same realm. You're ignoring everything I just said as if I didn't say it. Loadout restrictions are not purely about game balance. Loadout restrictions are often about offering the player a painful decision in order to make them very proud of the decision that they make. Right? It's not purely about game balance. I feel, again, you're being reductionist. You're whittling down loadout restrictions to having one purpose. No, they have more than that purpose alone. Yes, you're correct to say they're about game balance, but they're also about offering the player a choice. This is what min-maxing is. Min-maxing is essentially you choosing this instead of this, and when you've arrived at that build and it's good or effective, you take pride in that. Like, the importance of the decision makes you very proud of it. I completely disagree. There's nothing deep about managing your fast travel costs. I'm not saying it's deep. I never said it was deep. I said that when you restrict the player's movement in the game, in this regard, it's not purely about causing you pain. It's about, are you managing your inventory well? Are you running in-game loops to ensure you have Azoth? They also want to make sure mid and early game players aren't hopping around the map willy-nilly, because roaming around the world is part and parcel to the gameplay loop. You're ignoring all of those facets and whittling it down and being reductionist and saying, well, no, fast travel cost is purely just to put the player into pain point, and then that extends the playtime or whatever. No, it is far more complex than that. New World needs you running around and chopping down trees and hunting a wolf and running from a bear and feeling a sense of achievement when maybe you don't have to do that as often, or when you are doing it, feeling a sense of achievement of like, well, I'm strong enough now to kill these things and to farm these things more quickly, and that gives you a sense of power, fantasy, and growth in the world. Again, reducing fast travel down to one simple thing is, I think, completely disingenuous to the work that they've done. I don't think they came up with this entire system of Azoth and endgame Azoth earn rates and Azoth costing this much, and well, now we've added shrines and we're lowering costs of Azoth so that if you're traveling very far, it's not going to be more expensive. It's an entire ecosystem that is woven to the New World gameplay content loop that is far more than just it's to cause the player pain. That's why when we started this little back and forth, I said, well, you're just being reductionist. That's not an accurate representation of what's going on. Then we have a fast travel restriction up to some point where it's no longer so punishing. If the entire game depends on your ability to not fast travel, that's bad design. Man, oh man, you're just dealing in sweeping generalizations. It's really hard to engage with. The entire game does not depend on our ability to not fast travel. I didn't say that. I said it is woven into your growth and your exploratory power fantasy expansion of your character through the game. It's woven throughout it that you can't just fast travel all of the time for forever as much as you possibly want. They've said no, that wouldn't be good for the character's growth and power fantasy and sense of accomplishment. I'm not saying the entire game depends on your ability to not fast travel. I'm saying they built a world where letting you fast travel all of the time would be damaging to the experience. Another example would be games with fast travel that don't limit it, but they limit where you can fast travel. So, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. If I could pick any point on the map that I had previously visited and just drop out of the sky on the ground, that would be damaging to the experience within Breath of the Wild. You can't flip that back around and say, oh, well, that's bad game design if the entire game depends on your ability to not fast travel. No. In The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, you can fast travel to shrines and the big towers, and that's it. If you just let me drop myself anywhere on the map that I darn well please, you're hurting that game's substance. Why? You'd look at a mountain and be like, I don't want to climb that, bloop, and you drop yourself on top of it. I was up there yesterday, I don't feel like climbing or riding back up, I'm going to drop myself out of the sky. You got to limit what the player can do in order to honor the identity of the game, and I think fast travel in New World falls into that category. You can't just let people do whatever they want willy-nilly. You always at least think out your position well. I just disagree with your reasoning. You don't have to agree with me. You don't. But I think the intention of the developers has to be considered here. I think they were very smart in saying, if we have a world where you're going to cut down 1,000 trees and mine 100 rocks and kill 1,000,000 wolves, you need to be in the world. You can't just be riding them out or fast traveling. It would completely dilute and neuter that piece of the game's identity. How do other MMOs handle fast travel? Yeah, I'd be interested to know how other MMOs handle fast traveling. Lost Ark would let you go anywhere if you've unlocked the little node. You go to a new area and there's like a node, and you go bling bling, and you unlock the little platform, and then that's where you can fast travel to and from. They're like way gates. I agree that when you're light, it's not expensive and quite well balanced, but the management as a whole gets exponentially hard, and I don't feel particularly good when I manage to make it work. Well, what you're describing, Takashi, I would describe as a late game squeeze, right? It's a late game squeeze where the systems of the game confine and get narrower and narrower and narrower, and it squeezes the player at the end because you're being asked to do too much. Think of it as you're no longer you start out the game as like a marble, and you can roll through these picture the game as being like this expansive system of tubes, and the marble's just coasting through at a pretty good clip, and then the marble becomes a golf ball, right? You level up, and then the marble becomes a cue ball, and then the marble becomes, a baseball, and then a softball. When you get to the end of the game, you feel like a bowling ball, and you're trying to run through like a garden hose. Like, you can't do it. You're like, I'm too big. I need to do too much. The systems that you've built are squeezing my ability to feel like I'm effectively moving through the game. It was great when I was back there and I was the size of a baseball, right? I was the size of a baseball, and I needed this many mats and this many things and this much Azoth, and the game was kind of humming. And what happens is, as you're saying, they're creating a dissonance where the requirement of items needed and time needed, that requirement, when you combine it with the Azoth needed, is creating this dissonance where the game is infringing on your feeling of free volitional choice. You're like, well, no, you're making this too hard. I'm being squeezed by the system's, understandable constraints in the early and mid game. These constraints make sense, but it shouldn't be claustrophobic in effect. Like, the further you get in the game, these systems just close in on you, and you're having a really, really bad time. So that's my understanding of what you're saying. The question is, and this is something that games do all of the friggin' time, it's on purpose. They want you to feel like a bowling ball trying to progress through a garden hose. Why? They need you to slow down because they're running out of garden hose. They're like, you're going to get to the end and you're going to be done. And I have always said it is better for somebody to get to that end moment where they take a break and feel satisfied. You don't want them feeling like they got wrung out like a rag, like, well, the game slowed everything down. Leveling, progression, material farming, fast travel, everything comes to a screeching halt because they want me to continue to play this game for 100 more hours. And if those 100 more hours become unenjoyable, then your break from the game or your disengagement is motivated by the wrong thing. You're motivated by dissatisfaction. You are not motivated by, I've reached an quote-unquote end point. Psychologically speaking, I think this is where so many games miss the mark. They wring somebody out to the point of they're like, I'm just done. Everything's too slow and cumbersome and frustrating. Instead of being like, I feel like I had a pretty satisfying experience. I kind of checked all the boxes, did all the things. My character is completely decked out. I'm going to take a break, or maybe start a different character, or maybe spec into a different build because that was so satisfying. Let me do it again with a different build. And they focus too much on, like, oh, we're running out of garden hose, so, you know, shrink it, so everything slows down. And then people end up feeling again like wrung out, like a rag, and then they stop playing. I mostly agree with you, and I know endgame is supposed to be grindy and squishy, but right now, all the different endgame options are not well balanced, and so it feels like less options. I think it's exactly what they've planned on. It's exactly what they've planned on. They want you to feel that way because they don't have enough for you right now. You know? Guys, if you're enjoying the conversation, you've never been here before, I am a Safe for Work broadcaster. Monday through Friday, we cover a lot of different games. New World, it's a talk show format. You don't have to worry about the language I'm going to use. You can subscribe in confidence if you want to keep me on in the background throughout the week. I'll be in your sub feed on YouTube doing live streams like this. We have a show coming up about Halo Infinite and how 343 apologizes to the community and has commitments to change going forward. We're not doing that just yet. That's coming up. If you're enjoying the show, hit subscribe. Give me a thumbs up on the video. Consider becoming a paid member or supporting any of our various sponsors down here. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Oh. Whew. Eugene says other games have significantly larger maps, so the mount thing's a little different, and so at that point, New World may be a more justified in its fast travel restrictions. Ashton says devs don't want you to break through. Devs don't want you to take a break. It feels like for some games they want you to keep playing, and get you to spend money, which I'm fine with them making money. So that's just how companies do it. Let me see here. Agree on map size, says Julian. World of Warcraft lost its sense of scale and grandeur when I got fast mounts, especially flying mounts. It was too easy to get across the world all of the time. Lono crashed. Someone reboot Lono? What? If you want a sense of scale, make a bigger map. Don't restrict everyone to a foot to feel bigger. It's just a time sink and it's unrewarding. But that simply isn't true with respect to New World. That's not true at all. If you've been playing, you know that's not true. It's not a time sink, and it's not unrewarding. It's incredibly rewarding to travel in the world and to do things as you're traveling, whether you're harvesting, mining, skinning. That's part of the experience. New World gameplay centers around that. It's not meant to be a game where you're just zip lining. Like, invisible zip lines are everywhere. Like, you're just zip lining everywhere. It's not meant to be that kind of a game. If that's what you want, then I don't understand how you've made it this far, because that just isn't how the game is built. It is built to be experienced. I don't think they'll do it, but I hope Horizon Forbidden West reduces the number of campfires. Any advice on the skinning for quick experience for the boxes? My harvesting and mining goes very quickly. The thing that really moved my skinning very quickly, Herb Spanish, is like the corrupted dogs. If you're strong enough to go into those areas, those guys, when you skin them, give you a junk ton. There was a little village that I found, I think it's in the northeast, somewhere over there. And oh my gosh, the dogs spawn at such a great rate. You can just run in a little circle in the town, and they just keep spawning. You kill them, skin them, kill them, skin them. It's great. You got to be strong enough to do it, though. It's a tough area. I think it's like a 50. I think in the area you got to be level 50. I'm having a hard time remembering, but that's what I did when I started noticing the skinning going way up. It was when I was fighting those guys. So this is just a design philosophy difference. If I'm planning to do X thing, and the game design is for me to do ABC in the meantime, that just isn't for me. And I don't think in general that is not the MMO expectations. It's fine to be disruptive, not have everything that is falling into the same cookie cutter design, but expectation management is rough when it deviates. Appreciate the advice. Is that Fort Ramos? Can somebody help with that? Somebody told me about it and I discovered it. Christina was the one that discovered it. She told me about it, and then she was like, "Oh, you found the town I was talking about." Thank you for becoming a member, by the way, Herb Spanish. Enjoy the dope badge and emote. You're dope and deserve dope stuff. Inching ever closer to another emote unlock for the channel. Thanks for all the paying members. I reckon since Lono hasn't crafted much, it gets hard for him to understand how frustrating it gets after 125 trade, not taking shots. No, I think you explained yourself well, and I think I echoed your sentiment well in that you get to that point of the game, you have to collect and grab so much that you end up feeling like a golf ball, like a bowling ball trying to go through a garden hose. You just can't do it. You have too much. You're too big. You get all this junk attached to you, so it ends up being unenjoyable. Can you explain capping currency, or what is your thoughts on it? I've never really understood capping currency. I would have to have a developer explain it to me, and here's why. I don't think there's anything wrong with you spending an entire day just running corrupted events with your friends. So you boot up, you want to dive into some New World gameplay, and you literally just run corrupted events. That's all you're doing. And then you just get as much Azoth as you possibly can. Because maybe the next week you're going to be doing some questing or some grinding or whatever, and you want to get as much Azoth as you can. I don't understand why that's a problem. You're earning the Azoth, you're playing the content, you're grinding the corrupted events. It doesn't make any sense to me. No, I didn't watch Full Metal Jacket this weekend. That's obviously a crass thing that he says. I wasn't thinking crassly. I was trying to create an image of like how in the beginning you're moving fairly unrestricted. Like the restrictions are there, but you're not meant to be fast traveling around. You're meant to be walking and seeing the world and chopping trees down and stuff. Arch Enigma says, I use Fort Ramos for that, but it is in Cutlass Keys in the southwest. Oh, southwest. Sorry, not northwest. Well, sending them in the wrong direction. This stream is great. Well, I appreciate that. Tell all your friends if you got fans of gaming news channels or New World. We do daily talk shows here Monday through Friday. From what I've seen explained, it prevents snowballing into new content. Warframe has that issue. Okay, that makes sense, Techno. That makes sense. They don't want you to basically go crazy right before new content lands, and then when the new content lands, you get to come in like Bill Gates, and you're like uber wealthy. Okay, that's a decent reason. I don't know if there's other reasons. It makes your decisions with cap currency more impactful. Isn't that what we want, to create more strategic decision making? That's possible. I know you're being tongue-in-cheek, but that is possible that they don't want fast travel to become a thoughtless thing because you spent an entire Saturday saving up. And that's possible. They're like, well, no, because there's too many times where you're not fast traveling and you would get such an insane amount that it would make fast travel a non-issue, right? Sorry I missed earlier part of the stream. Super excited about the direction the devs laid out for this game. The dungeon mutations are going to make endgame PvE content. The question I have, Deadly Dad Gaming, to make it more rewarding, right, is are they going to add the mutators to all of the expeditions? Do you know what I mean? Because, like, they said it, they outlined it, and I was like, okay, that sounds great, but are you just going to do it with the final 2? Are we going to be in this scenario again where, you know, you got 6 expeditions, they're all great, they're all fun, and you're going to leave the first 4 sort of in the game's dust, which, if that's what they want to do, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I don't necessarily think that that's wrong, but why not give those early ones some love? You know, make them relevant, make them worth your while, make them not fall to the wayside. I say this purely from a strategic vantage point, right? If you are a developer and you spend all this time making these great PvE environments, right? You make them awesome, you make them fun. I think the expeditions are very, very good content, right? And then they're basically only worth playing in the super, super early game. I feel like that's just such a misuse of capital. It's such a misuse of capital. Why would you not rejuvenate those, resurrect those in some way? You spent all that time on them, and they're largely meant for people in the, you know, level 20 to 40, and then after that they're done. I think that's a misuse of capital. I've always taken that position. That you should be finding ways to get more use out of your capital, especially when it's so good. Reading between the lines, it sounded like they were talking only about the final 2, but who knows, with player feedback, they may go back and update the older ones. Have you heard any news about the update called... No, I've not heard about that. Late Arrival says, Ferryman, has the topic of Amazon DMCAing tubers for reporting bugs. That did come up, and I tried to give some perspective as a YouTuber as to why that's happening and why it should be rectified. Number one, when a company files a DMCA claim on a video like that, YouTube has to immediately take the video down and issue a strike. They have to, right? And then a real live person comes back and looks at it later. And if the real live YouTube employee comes back later and says, listen, this is just a video of somebody warning, hey, there's a bug in the game, this could potentially hurt you. It's not exploitative or a breach of TOS. And then Amazon would at that point in time then be probably given that response, and then Amazon could say, okay, we release the claim. This was a mistake. More than likely, that is what will happen. So the video comes down instantly. The claim could be as bogus as this Christmas tree. That ain't a real tree, right? It's clearly not. It's white. That doesn't exist. That's fake, okay? So the claim can be that bogus, and they still take the video down instantly. That fast. And so it'll come back up and the strike will get released, because all the guy's got to do is respond and appeal it and say, no, I'm well within my right to make this video. I'm not breaking TOS. I'm merely showing and warning people that there's a bug where you can lose money and telling people don't do this. found the third bag of my dark roast from my previous order, so now I have 4 bags of dark roast. It sleeps next to me in my bed. Thank you for enjoying the coffee that much, Zubair. We've already had two coffee orders today. That's not a real tree. I thought it was just albino. Yeah, it's not a real tree. It's fake. It's fake. Anybody else ordering any coffee? Let me know if you do. I check the orders and shout you out live on the stream. We will be shifting gears here in about 13 minutes to a stream about Halo Infinite and how the developers took to the live stream to say, we are sorry. They apologize. We'll be covering that shortly. Hopefully you guys enjoy that. I need to set up the redirect. I forgot to do that. Why is it not releasing? There we go. I was like middle mouse clicking to drag the window and it like wasn't releasing. Like, what in the frick? There we go. Zubair was rampaging last week for no reason, misplaced his stash just like an addict. Takashi says, I think Lono's first take on New World was spot on. For the initial 2/3 of the game, play loop and satisfaction, XP gains and progression were very good. After that, it kind of comes to a screeching halt. I've been saying that. Yeah, I've been saying that for weeks. And I said that largely pointed to the fact that from where I sit, they were targeting the mid laners. They were targeting the more casual players. They were targeting the people that weren't going to play it like a traditional MMO. And that didn't minimize or invalidate criticisms about the end game, but it made them less important. Right? Maybe not less important. They were less of a top priority in that moment. They were less of a top priority in that moment, which means they're still a priority, they're still important, but it was less of a priority in that moment. And now we've reached almost a quarter of the year. We're 8 days away from ending our third entire month of New World, and a lot of these issues have gone unaddressed, and the server mergers have been, I think, executed in a not the greatest and most clearest way. I think the endgame criticisms and frustrations have swelled and have shown themselves in the player base numbers. Now, let's take a look here. New World Steam charts. Let's take a look here and see what the winter event did. So, the winter event has seemingly turned the game into an upward swing. So when the winter event hit, that day we got 117,000 player peak. The next day, 109. And then 116, and then 124. That's pretty good. That's a nice turnaround from hitting player peaks in the 90s, right? In the 90,000s. So that's not a bad turnaround for just a little free winter event. That's not tectonic, right? It's not like the entire game is back on track and everybody's back and having a fun time because there's snow on the ground. But it certainly points to that people will respond to new content, people will come back, and the player-based rhythms can hit, a healthy stride, at least for now. I don't think this is going to last much longer. I would imagine we're going to dip back down into underneath 100,000 24-hour player peaks. We'll dip back down in there in January. And then February is the big update, and that's when things will spike back up. I would imagine that they would hope daily player base numbers would hit peaks above 200,000 in February to allow for that. No, the mic's not different. It's just positioned differently because for split screen, I have a boom on the ceiling and I had it coming down into the shot. I have a new boom on the way, by the way. We really liked having the mic come in out of the ceiling, and we really enjoyed that. We can't do it for this scene because it ends up in front of this display, but we thought that looked really, really good for split screen. With mergers, I believe player count will go farther up. That is possible. That is entirely possible that people will say, oh, well, now that the servers are healthy again, I have a reason to go back in and play. I just want to make a point of order, says Alarian. We criticize the game because we care. No one gets anything out of this if the game crashes and burns and is a failure. We all win if New World does well and improves. Well, certainly. Emu Billy says, "Sup, dude? What's up?" Yeah, I've never criticized a game to the point that I would hope that it fails. Even with the massive amount of love loss between me and Destiny, I wouldn't want the game to fail. There's so many people that play it and enjoy it. It's their hobby. I think the failure that I would want to see is meting itself out. I think it's the order of the cosmos is correcting some of those things. Our host is awesome, but I hate the fact that he has so much hair, more in 1 square inch than I have on my whole head. Are you talking about me? I'm sorry if my hair, it doesn't even fit in this camera angle. Anyway. I'll get some entertainment factor out of the crash and burn, which is about the same value I get out of it now, considering I don't play. I don't think it'll crash and burn. I think they've dedicated too much time, and they have too much of a long view of the game. They have too much of a long view of the game for that to happen. Any updates on the copyright striking YouTube channels that are simply helping the New World community? That right there will kill the player base. I've touched on that. I'll give you my quick Cliff's notes on it. YouTube takes down videos instantly that get hit with a claim like that, and then a real live person will look at the appeal. I believe that these individuals will win their appeals, and then Amazon will release those claims once they realize they were made in error, and then they'll be fine. They have to, because of the way that the document is submitted, they have to immediately take the video down because it's a legal document, right? And the misuse of these systems can cause, like, if Play New World's YouTube channel is the one submitting the claims and they do it too many times, then YouTube would take their channel from them. So whoever at Amazon Games is submitting these claims falsely, right, they need to be reprimanded because you're going to potentially jeopardize New World's channel. Now, obviously, Google's going to play nice and not slap them right away, but if this were to continue for a couple of weeks, they'd be like, listen, this is a misuse of the copyright claim. If you're just trying to shrink the damage, like you don't want people to know about bugs, because I guess, what do you think, that's bad PR? We're trying to pretend that it didn't happen. If that's how you're going to be using the copyright claim system, that's a complete misuse of it, and they would take their channel from them, and then potentially they could be sued if they continue. I don't think they're going to continue. I think somebody made a mistake. I think somebody somewhere misfired on these videos, thinking that, like, oh, it's another exploit vid, they're telling people how to dupe gold or something. That's not what these videos were. So, very scary out there for content creators. I will say that YouTube does right by its creators when they see a claim has been made that is false. They've gotten much better at course correcting when this sort of thing happens. Shouldn't Amazon really be checking who they claim against? Because that would worry me if I was a streamer of New World content, never knowing if your channel is going to be there or not. Well, the channel doesn't go away, the video goes away. They don't detonate the channel. That's not a thing. I mean, that can happen, but a lengthy process of strikes and community guideline strikes have to take place before your channel has anything done to it. The video disappears, and then as a community guideline strike or a copyright strike hits, I believe your channel is unmonetized for that duration of period or whatever while it's being reviewed, which is incredibly disruptive to that person's business, especially if they're a larger YouTuber and all their videos all throughout the day are amassing money for them. So, Amazon Games should be very, very careful in doing this, because if somebody is in fact distributing something that is bad for your IP and you want the video taken down, you're within your right to do that. If some guy is literally just constantly making videos and it's him showing how to do like an exploit or something, they're well within their right to say, hey, we want those videos taken down. But somebody who just makes a video saying, hey, there's a bug in the game and you can lose all your gold, and then you hit that guy, I think that is a complete and utter misuse of the DMCA claims process. What happens if you had a lot of previous videos on your channel and they DMC all? Wouldn't that flag your channel for deplatforming? Well, YouTube wouldn't allow for that. Like, YouTube's not going to let you just randomly go claim a bunch of somebody's videos. Now, if they did, you have to individually file a claim on each and every one of those. And if it came to be found that all of those were false claims, because a real person's going to go and look at these claims. And if a real staffer at YouTube goes and looks and says, these claims are all spurious, whoever did that would be banned from the platform. You can't do that. You can't abuse it. It's a legal document that you submit. It's at the bottom you sign under penalty of perjury. You literally sign it as like an affidavit, basically. And it says, under penalty of perjury, I'm claiming that they don't have a right to distribute or make this video or whatever. And so it's a pretty serious deal for somebody to go and do that. You can't just haphazardly go and do it. Now, what happens sometimes is like you cover an event like we cover the Game Awards, and they have all kind of music and things in the trailers and in the broadcast that I don't have a right to monetize. So that video gets demonetized because it's got like 18 different, record label songs in it, right? I don't get in trouble for that. I just can't monetize the video. Isn't all their game copyright protected to show in the public? We had this discussion earlier, so I don't really feel like going back and beating this horse, but yes and no. I believe it's a gray area and falls under fair use because it's derivative. If I'm playing through your game with my character and my commentary and my decisions, I believe that is derivative enough to fall under fair use. It's not the same as me just rebroadcasting your television show and being like, haha, that seems funny. And also there are, we discussed this, right? Like, there are distribution contracts that protect, like, I can't do a reaction channel and watch through, like, The Mandalorian. Why? Because Disney owns the sole distribution rights. No one else can distribute it. Nobody. Right? Video games don't really fall under that clause currently. You paid $40 for a game and you play for over 1,000 hours. In my opinion, it's hard to complain. This person says, yes, you can have all my stuff and my 90,000 coins. After defending this game a lot and sticking up for all the patches and changes, I'm saying bye. Well, he put bay. I will admit that after 1,075 hours, I didn't get the rewarded feeling from loots, crafting, or PvP. No special loot, no special gear, nothing. I do get a lot of hate when I kill players in PvP. Apparently, PvP tagged players today are meant for better loot and not for combat. In no other game have I received so much hate and toxic tells than this game. I don't think English is this person's first language. Also, PvP today is running 10 minutes across the map instead of head-to-head combat, resulting in toxic DM when they reach the safe zone. Everything is the same. Everyone can do the same in builds and crafting, etc. Bay and have fun all. Yeah, I can't tell if the person's... Did they lack self-awareness? You played a game for 1,000 hours and you're acting like... I don't know. I can't imagine spending $40 and after 1,000 hours being like... I mean, you just need to take a break. You're not describing... You are describing problems in the game, sure. There are issues with New World's game design. But... That doesn't mean that you didn't get a ton of value. I mean, 1,000 hours. That's just, I don't know. That's a lot. That's a lot of hours. That's over 300 hours a month. I don't know. Since the game's launch, that's over 300 hours a month. That's a lot. That is an insane amount. I don't know. I got to get a trailer up here for Halo. So I can have that looping for the next video. Wait, that's not what I want. I want to have... Oh, you know what? We can just show the beginning of this. This is like the intro to their stream. Halo Infinite starting soon. Let's have that playing. Okay, so we're going to switch gears to Halo Infinite apologizes to community. We're going to shift gears to that now. Okay, so I do have the right thumb saved. Okay. Halo Infinite says sorry. That's the name of this stream. Halo Infinite says sorry. Send that tweet out, and then I'll do an announcement in the Discord. All right, and we should be. It should redirect you. It should oh shoot! It should redirect you. Freaking 698 votes. In case it doesn't redirect you, I have put a link in the chat for you. If you are interested in this subject of Halo Infinite apologizing to the community. Hey, thanks for clicking on the video. In this episode of SNTR Gaming News, we're going to be talking about Halo Infinite apologizing to the community and committing to have significant changes going forward, both with their communication as well as their cosmetics, their pricing structures, and the events. Right here at the beginning of the stream, I go through the meat of what we're going to be discussing. So if that's what you're looking for and you clicked on this as a past broadcast, we appreciate you watching. Make sure and hit subscribe and the bell button so you